What is happening, guys? It's Clint. I'm back for another episode of Versus. This is an exciting day. We have long been waiting for Spider-Man. That is right. Spider-Man No Way Home is finally out, and we're going to have a fun show about that. We're going to be talking about that. And what else are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about all the Spider-Mans. No Way Home, Homecoming, and Far From Home. We're also going to be talking about a little bit of Hawkeye at the end. This is going to be a non-spoiler discussion until the end, and then we're going to switch it over and start talking about spoilers, and we'll let you guys know and say, hey guys, get the hell out of here. It's spoiler time. So, but we're not going to do that right off the bat. We're going to try and be as considerate as possible because we want you to enjoy your Spider-Man adventures. And speaking of enjoying things, I can't enjoy this conversation with you guys without a little help from my homeboy, Curtis Baker. Curtis Baker, what is up, cuz?
Hello.
Hello
How are you,
there.
sir?
How are you?
I'm doing quite well. As I mentioned to you earlier, today is Friday for most people, but for teachers, it is the beginning of Christmas break. So,
Oh, this is good times for you. Good times. Oh, this is good stuff. Oh, man.
Let the drunkening begin.
Yes, sir. Congrats for that. Well, before we get into some heavy conversation, let's tell everybody to do all the things that we have to tell them to do, being like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell, tell your friends. Welcome to contribute to the show, like our friend Bobby, who is in the chat right now. And speaking of the chat, if you have any questions or you have any comments and you want to toss in on this conversation, feel free to do it in the chat or just say hi. And if we can, we're going to get to those comments and try to answer them or comment back. So, man, holy smokes. Holy smokes. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy your the Homecoming, Curtis? What do you got to say about that?
No way home.
Yeah, that's what I meant. No Way Home.
No way.
No Homecoming.
Yes, I absolutely enjoyed it.
I knew you would.
Yeah. I mean,
You can't even talk about it before we even crack that coconut, man. I knew I would love it. I knew you would love it. I had a feeling it was going to be fantastic, and the reason is, well, I just had that feeling, man. But before going in, I saw some reviews, and it was ridiculous. Like I stayed up the night before, and I watched all the reviews, and it was 100%, and there was like. It was like 20-something views, like reviews of this thing, and there was 100%. I think you can't go out of the gate with 100%, and and it's still at something ridiculous, like 98% or 96%, and there's hundreds of reviews. So I mean, that tells you something right there. I know that that there's a lot of the snooty guys who want to call them sheeple that are just doing that, Marvel fans that are going to like anything they do. But there's also a bunch of assholes out there that would love to crap all over Spider-Man, and they didn't. It's just a few. So that tells me some good things. And if you look, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this article that Deadline put out. And it says, Spider-Man No Way Home eyeing $200 million opening, hopes to land among the top 7 domestic debuts of all time. That's the midday update today. There's a lovely picture of MJ and Spidey. Friday midday update. According to the industry midday estimates, not Sony, Spider-Man No Way Home is easily heading towards an opening that's north of $200 million. Some have the Jon Watts directed MCU title between $283 million and $250 million. I'm told if the wheels fall off of Spider-Man and he nosedives 50% on Saturday from Friday, he should still comfortably land north of $200 million, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
Triple note, midday Friday estimates are always the most aggressive. Sony, I hear, already has $97 million in the bank for today, which should put the Tom Holland Zendaya picture between $115 million to $120 million today, plus the Thursday $50 million previews. should a meteor hit the Earth this weekend, and for some unexpected reason, Spidey is in the high 100 million range, there's no reason why we can't call that phenomenal success. Especially as we endure an ongoing pandemic. There's too much glowing word of mouth here. There's tons of glowing word of mouth. Everybody's excited about it. There's also overseas. I'm just gonna just graze over these real quick. As far as COVID concerns, we're hearing that the theater capacity restrictions are in effect at 50% in Nova Scotia, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and up in Canada. That's not expected to throw a wrench in what we're seeing here on Spider-Man. I'm sure our buddy James could tell us all about the what's going on in Canada. As far as other films in the marketplace, I hear that this weekend is not one where the tide rises all boats. Spider-Man No Way Home is soaking up all of the oxygen. Still, behold the living financial power of a fire-breathing theatrical window. Why the heck doesn't anyone want to practice day and date? And they're basically saying, why does anybody want to do day and date again? Which we're going to see with The Matrix next week. They're going to be releasing the stuff on HBO and in the theater at the same time. Like, what? Why would you do that? Well, clearly they didn't know that Spider-Man was going to be doing this, and I could tell you, I saw the Matrix trailer in the theater, and it looks like one of the greatest movies I'm going to see in a long time. I'm super excited to see two badass movies. If it's half as good as the trailer was, I'm in. You know what I mean?
But I still thought I'm excited for The Matrix too, but I still thought, like, after I left Spider-Man, I was like, it would surprise me very much if we don't see Matrix pushed back. I mean, I guess it's too close now, but I was like,
they're not.
They need to push that shit back.
If they were worried about that, they wouldn't be. They would have reneged on their day and date thing on HBO Plus. They expect to lose money on this thing. It's going on HBO, so they're not worried about.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So they're like, okay, they've already expected to leave that money on the table. Here's an interesting thing in this article too. Who says people love to stay home and stream movies? Proving that theatrical is still king. Sony and Marvel Spider-Man No Way Home rang up a massive 50 million. Yes, we already read that. The third best preview night ever. The third best preview night ever, and the most money Sony has ever seen on a Thursday preview night. It easily buries the previous high we've seen during the pandemic, that being for Disney Marvel's Black Widow at 13.2 million. It also blows away Sony's previous preview high, which was for Spider-Man Homecoming, the first Tom Holland MCU, which minted a 15 million on the Thursday. This is the good stuff. Among the all-time Thursday preview records, and granted that Spider-Man screenings started at 3 p.m. That's true. They usually started at 6, but they started doing them at noon, even in some places, and 3 p.m. The pick ranks behind 2019 Avengers Endgame, and 2015 Star Wars Force Awakens. So this thing is hanging up there with the big boys. This is like top 3 of movies. So that's fantastic. Good for Spidey. Makes me happy, man. Makes me feel like the movies are back, and people are going to start going to the movies again. I don't know how true that is, but it feels good right now. So what do you think, Curtis? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, for all those people out there that are saying that these comic book movies they're not film or they're not cinema, they're just spectacle and this and that and the other. We can have a conversation about that a little later, but if you don't want the movie theaters to die, this is what's putting butts in seats. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, and I will say, without spoiling anything, no, I won't say anything because no, we'll talk about that later. But it's so hard to talk about this movie without talking about the movie, but it is very good. And it's that's what I mean. Like, these movies, movies like this are keeping theaters alive. They're going to bring theaters back. This is what this is the steroids that the movie theater companies need right now. And for people out there to be saying this stuff, like oh well, this isn't really blah blah, whatever the fuck they're saying, like, it's a damn good movie. Go see it first, and get your head out of your ass while you're watching it, and you're gonna have a good time. You might not think it's Citizen fucking Kane, but you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, man. If you've spent your life going to comic book movies, you're gonna enjoy this movie, and that's the deal. And you're right, man. Like even if you scroll down further on that article, I'm not gonna scroll. Not gonna put you through that again. But I'm good with short bursts. Once I start reading long articles, my ADD kicks in, and I start daydreaming about like the third subject that I'm start thinking about that at the same time while I'm reading. But there was something in one, and it might not even been the same article, but AMC stock was at right around $20, and it took a jump to 29 something. Like Spider-Man
Because of
raised
this,
their stocks. Yeah, like when a movie raises the theater's stocks, like that's awesome. Which is great. Good for them. Yeah,
we got Raj. Hey Raj, yes. Well, it's not spoiler-free episode, but we will absolutely let you know before we spoil anything. We're gonna give you a big old heads up.
we're not going to get into spoilers till the very end of the stream, and that's where we're just going to let it all hang out. But we're going to let you guys know definitely ahead of time. And yeah, we don't want to spoil anything. I went to Starbucks when I got out of theater, and this guy was like, which by the way, I'll just say I could pull up a screen right now. If you go to Google and you look up the cast of any one of these movies, even Hawkeye, you're gonna they're spoiler time. Don't go anywhere near any listing that says the cast of these shows, because it's gonna screw it up for you. So stay away from that. Because I was like, am I really spoiling it? It's right there, right on my screen. But yeah, we'll get into that at the end. But yeah, the Starbucks barista was like, hey, well, could you just tell me one thing? Will you tell me if blah, blah, blah was in there? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not telling you anything. Oh, come on. I'm like, well, what if that guy over there hears me? I was like, what if she over there hears me?
Plus, like, it's just better not to know.
Yeah, I mean, and plus you can go hop on Twitter. You'll know right away. But I was like, come on, just go see the movie.
Yeah, just turn your phone on, and you're probably gonna find out. Well, and the same thing too is that, like, I am, I'm Debbie Downer. I do have some gripes with it, which we'll talk about later. But at the same time, I looked more into this than you had, because we talked about a few things, and you're like, I don't want to know. So I kind of had a better idea of the spoilers, which I don't want certain things to be spoiled, but if it does, I'm not that, it doesn't kill me too much. It's not the worst thing in the world. And it was still surprising. It was still very good. So try to stay away from the spoilers, but if you can't, it's not going to ruin the movie for you. If you find out certain big hits, it's definitely not going to ruin the movie for you.
There's things that happen in this movie that I heard a year ago that like, and of course they're all
and they
theories.
Still landed.
Yeah, they still landed, and there's so many theories that you don't know which ones are which. So it's like it's and a lot of the things that I heard happen, and some of the things that I heard didn't happen. I mean, it makes sense. Right. But so there's I was thinking about that. It's at some point when there's so many theories, and scoopers and everything else out there on the internet that are saying stuff, at some point it stops being a spoiler, because there's so much information you don't know what's true. You're not going to find out until after you've seen the movie. So that was pretty fun. But this is Versus, where we put things up against each other, and so we're going to talk about all of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans, the Jon Watts directed Spider-Mans. If you were with us last week, or even if you didn't make it, but you listened to the stream, you can catch all of our streams. We don't just live stream; they stay on our channel. So if you get bored, go check out some of our old episodes. Last week we did the Webverse, which was the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, and then the week before that we did the Tobey Maguire Raimi-verse. And this has been a lot of fun, just weekly rewatching all of those, and then going and seeing the latest one. It was really cool. I'm glad we did it like this, because I had my head in the game for everything, yeah. and I just enjoyed that, so it was cool. Man, I'd have gone back and watched I love all Spider-Man stuff. Like I'll go back and watch
Mhm.
the old Electric Company Spider-Man with Morgan Freeman if I'd have thought about it. All right, well
Yeah.
let's start talking about some Homecoming, man.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Homecoming. Remember that? Remember that, guys? Remember Homecoming? Woo!
I do.
Homecoming.
I do. Not as well as I thought, but after a rewatch, um, it came back. It came all rushing back. That feeling of I rewatched Civil War as well.
Oh, cool.
Um,
I didn't rewatch that.
yeah, I thought since it was the introduction, he's not in it that much, but it was the introduction film and stuff like that. Um, and so I did rewatch that, and I've seen Civil War, several times since the original viewing. But with this movie coming out and all that stuff, I did feel again kind of like because I was thinking about it, like that first time when we actually saw Spider-Man in the Marvel universe was such a big deal. Like it
Oh,
just,
super, man.
I mean, yeah, it was something we'd all been wishing for forever. And that first time we saw Tom Holland um, as Peter Parker, and I mean, I don't know if anybody's had any complaints. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but in Civil War and in Homecoming, he just he's a teenager,
Yeah,
and he plays it really well.
he does. He plays a kid so well, and I always give him crap. Like I'm like he's kind of more of an airhead Spider-Man. Like he doesn't seem smart. He just seems younger. That's all it is.
Hmm.
When
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
time to reflect on that, and I go, no, he's just younger. It's like 14, 15-year-old Spider-Man instead of being like an 18-year-old Spider-Man, and that's the difference. And that's a big jump in like maturity level and stuff. And that's when when Tony Stark tells him that, he's like, "Look, dude, you're a 14-year-old kid," and he was like 15, and I was like, "That's the deal.
Oh,
He's a
yeah,
kid. He's a kid. He doesn't have any bass in his voice yet, and he's
yeah,
trying, but he's just real strong." like,
yeah.
but yeah, I loved it, man, and I loved. It opens with Michael Keaton
Hmm.
cleaning up stuff, and anything you open with Michael Keaton is like any movie is gonna rock.
Hmm.
I'm convinced of that. Um, and he's in there. He's got a contract, and they're cleaning up the mess from the Avengers Tower and all the stuff from all of the destruction that happened. And then all of a sudden we have a government agency come in there and shut him down and take over. And he's like, hey man, I got this contract with the city to do this, and he's taken all this stuff and he's overinvested himself in like
Hmm.
different businessmen that I know that I've met, people that are like, I got to get this contract, and I'm and they borrow money and
It
overextend
happens
themselves.
all the time. That's
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and all of a sudden the government puts him in this position to where he's like, all right, you got me up against the wall, and they take away his bread and butter, and he's got a country boy has to survive, man. Like what are you gonna do? Um, and that's what turns him bad. Like
Hmm.
basically,
Yeah.
uh,
And that's the thing. He's an altruistic villain as well. At the same time, like they flesh the villain out so well. In actually pretty much all these movies, the villains, it's not I'm a bad guy. Kind of like in my opinion, the uh, Lizard was,
yeah,
or even Venom in Spider-Man 3, you know, these are very fleshed out villains. He's doing it, and he even says he's like, I got a crew, these guys, I gotta pay these guys. These guys got jobs and stuff like that, and they make him a good guy. Basically, he's doing at first, what he needs to survive, and I do think it was neat that the they basically scavenge. He's the vulture, and they're like scavengers. They pick up all the dead pieces from all their wreckage, and stuff like that, and then that's how he makes his living and stuff after that. So it was just really fleshed out villain, and whenever even later on, whenever they're selling them to criminals and stuff like that, selling these weapons to criminals and stuff, you still feel for him. He's doing, and it's about his family, and like the one guy says, what if I tell your wife? And then that's whenever he's like, okay, now it's, it's over now,
I
buddy.
know a
Yeah,
lot of people like that. You know what I mean? That like they're just taking care of their family, doing what they got to do, and they try to do the right thing, but they're going to do whatever they need to do. What you know what I mean? If they got to step out,
exactly. Yeah.
color out of the lines a little bit, they're going to do it. Um, yeah. It's also fun. It's also fun watching Peter uh, be super annoying and just like
Mhm.
super hyperactive kid, and Happy is like way more grumpy in this.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. He's what are you doing? Oh, I'm just filming a documentary, or like filming. You can't show that to anybody. I know, but it's fun, And he's just a kid with his phone, and it's like, oh god.
And that's such a kid nowadays. If it's not being recorded, it doesn't matter. Like, like I just did this awesome thing. Did you record it? No. Well, who cares? Like, that's just so much how kids are nowadays. And it's
It's
it's interesting too. I'd watched something and they were talking about how the director and that team, writers and directors and the Marvel guys, um, they didn't get their inspiration necessarily for this film um, necessarily from Spider-Man films, and obviously from the character, of course, but like the direction for the film, they didn't get from Spider-Man or even other comic book movies. Apparently, they got their like the inspiration from John Hughes movies,
oh
and they
cool.
like they made because it's very much a high school movie. It's very much like they nail the kids. They get all this stuff right, and yeah, that's the kind of direction they were going in, and they weren't um, going towards big superhero stuff, and that's the thing. They grounded Spider-Man from the beginning, and it made it work.
That's what's fun about Spider-Man in the first place is his normal
Mhm.
life. You know what I mean? It's like being I won't call him invincible, but he's way over like I won't say overpowered. He's way powered though. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah. Oh
strong
yeah.
and
Yeah.
for a kid and like he can do a
Mhm.
lot, and it's his dumb kid clumsiness and stuff that gets him into trouble, which is really funny. I liked that he was filming everything, and then he's like, "Oh, look, it's Captain America! Oh crap!" And like when they cut into
During.
yeah, he's filming, and like so we've all seen that movie, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're like, oh shoot! Before he showed up, he was back there like doing kid stuff. Like, oh check it out! Like, oh there's Captain America, and then he steals his shield. Dude, I stole his shield. He's super stoked. He's super excited. It makes it hilarious. Like it makes this movie. I really enjoyed watching this movie again because I enjoyed it in the theater, but
Mhm.
I think I was over analyzing everything. Uh, Also the way that it was a different take on having Tony Stark involved and giving him a suit and all that. I was like, scratching my head
And
half the movie, like over analyzing all that. Now that I've lived with that for a couple years, I was able to just go in there and watch a movie and have fun.
fair enough, but let's talk about that because the different takes. Uh, I think a lot of people come to terms with it and realize that it's going to work, but it really bothered a lot of people. Uh, so like for example, like Flash, and every other one, Flash is like this, you know, big, athletic guy, and he's picking on Peter and stuff like that. And in this one, he's not, Um, and there's no Gwen Stacy, but there's MJ who's not Mary Jane, she's Michelle Jones, and she's a completely different character. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Mary Jane was like a model and actress and stuff like that, and this one's, Zendaya's character is very much um I don't know, the cool emo chick or whatever that you want to date. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But um and like with the changes, how did you feel about them first and how do you feel about them now? I mean, there's plenty of other changes, but
I like him. I like the crew. I
mhm,
like his best friends. The uh,
mhm,
the the Scooby Doo gang. I like the Scooby
mhm,
Doo gang. You know what I mean? And it's a different take on it. You know, even the suit. I don't like the newer suits. They don't. I like the look of the old suit. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So when you have some weird space age technology on a Spider-Man suit. There's some about that turns me off a little bit, Even though I'm like, hey, that's cool. He's got a robot in his ears and gets to talk to a computer, make friends with a computer and kill mode and all this stuff. I'm like, that's cool, but you know, I've already seen Iron Man, but
Right.
it's still cool. Like,
Hmm.
and I say, okay, cool. Tony Stark gave some technology to a kid to help him out, and I can back that. You know.
But you can see that you weren't. I mean, like you weren't the only one that felt that way, and obviously, like they kind of felt it too because that never came up again. Like even whenever he's got the spider leg suit, like in the new one that Stark made him
Yeah,
and
they
stuff
don't
like that.
talk about it.
Yeah, Karen never comes back. Like
Yeah.
she's just gone. Like so. Um, a lot of people must not have liked that one.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think pretty much I think it's the same story. It's like we were talking about it last week with Andrew Garfield Webverse. Like they made some weird changes to Peter that were like almost unnecessary except for the reason of we have to make it different because we just made
Right.
another one. So it's almost like, okay, we're going to switch it up a little bit. If we make it funny, we give it that Marvel
Hmm.
fun element. Also, the most popular thing about Marvel's MCU is Tony Stark. So let's have
Hmm.
Tony Stark mentor him in. And then since it's Tony Stark, you know, he's going to put his stank all over everything. So here's some tech. Here's some tech, kid. You know, so now he's got so now all of a sudden he's completely different than the Spider-Man we're used to. And also, he's got elements of things that everyone likes. So I mean, it makes complete perfect sense.
Well, yeah, and you brought up a good point there. Like in the other ones, they just changed things for the sake of changing them.
Mhm.
Now that may have been what they the initial decision of why they made the initial decision here. However, what they did with it made more sense. For example, like Flash has always been Peter's rival, and you've got a Brainiac whose rival is an athlete. It didn't make any sense. And then whenever you figure in the whole Spider-Man thing, Spider-Man kicked the crap out of Flash, so they're no longer rivals. But having the new Flash basically be a Brainiac and competing with Peter on his level, like that makes sense, and it works better. It's like, better at you at football, Peter, and Peter's like, oh darn it, it's like, no, of course you are, dude. Like, come on, like,
And then even
but
even Rich, he's rich, so you know,
yeah,
rich and cool. He's a DJ and all that, and that's like what Peter's struggling at is being around, having a social life and all that. So this guy's is like the cool rich kid, you know, party kid DJ. Um,
yeah. And the Mary Jane that's like the supermodel Mary Jane, like of course, hopefully, yeah. And every young boy that was a nerd reading Spider-Man was like, of course he ends up with the supermodel. But in real
I
life,
I don't
like
see Zendaya as a supermodel. I do now when she pops up in a Pantene commercial or whatever, but like when I see her there,
no,
she just reminds me of the girl in high school who had
yeah,
Doc Martens and a flannel on that wore a band T-shirt under you know had a Smiths T-shirt
hmm,
underneath the flannel and you know who I had a crush on or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's like the
for
cool
sure.
chick, not the hottest chick in school, but cool and a little attitude and fun to hang out with. That's who she reminds me of. Real quick, guys in the chat, what do you guys think? Do you like the OG the OG Spider-Man, or do y'all like the mentored by Tony Stark Spider-Man? Just curious on your thoughts. Throw that in the
Mhm.
chat, and then we'll come back to that in a little bit. Um,
Well,
yeah,
that was my point. Is that in the comics, Mary Jane is a straight up like she becomes a supermodel, and in this one, it's like a much more like she's a very pretty girl and like she's lead. Got she's smart and she's got all this stuff going for her, you know, but she's socially awkward to a degree, and like that's why Peter's got a shot. So it makes more sense. It just kind of fits knowing everything we know about Spider-Man now, and it fits a little more. It's a little more realistic for a guy who can stick to walls.
I'm laughing because I love the part where he's coming in. I don't remember what part it was, but he's waving and everybody's waving, and Zendaya just is flipping him off.
Yeah,
It's the best, dude. I'm like, that's great. Oh, it was at the dance. It was at the
yeah,
homecoming dance.
yeah.
It's super hilarious. What else did I write over here? Oh yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, I wrote a note that Peter looks really young in this movie. And I really
He
love the
does.
part he goes, he grabs the sandwich at the corner store, uh,
Mhm.
for his Aunt May, and the guy in Spanish was like, "Oh yeah, this guy's aunt's is smoking hot," and he was like, "How's your daughter doing?" he asked the guy back. He's
Yeah.
like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was really funny." Uh, yeah. So Spider-Man ends up going to a party where Flash is DJing and calling him what did he call him? Something I don't anyway, he was talking smack. He was making making chants. It was Peter Parker, but it was like Poser Parker or something like that. It was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But yeah, so he ends up going to this party, doesn't even want to go, but ends up going and then sees some explosions out in the suburbs. Um I I really like how we're used to seeing Peter in the city all the time. And there's
Mhm.
multiple scenes in this movie where he's like in the suburbs or he doesn't have buildings to swing on and things like that. And he's running across a golf course.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny to me. Which is
Yeah,
weird.
because it's yeah, what would happen if he didn't have anything to swing on? Well, he's just got to fucking run.
He's
Like,
got to run or cars if he can get cars.
yeah,
But yeah, it's funny. Yes, and then we see Vulture. Um, and Vulture shows up and basically kicks the crap out of him. He ends up discovering all these crazy things in his suit. And has a parachute go off and ends up almost drowning. And then Tony Stark saves him. And it turns out it's not Tony Stark; it's a robot. It's one of his drone Stark Iron Man guys. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I was like, uh, he's got babysitter like drone
oh
Iron
yeah,
Man hanging out waiting for him. Stark's always
oh
on
yeah,
top of it.
yeah. Then it cuts and he's at some party, like in India or something like that. What Tony was.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, Raj, Raj says he's a little biased because he grew up with the Raimi Spider-Man, but so he says he'll have to say he Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was best. Uh, Bobby says I'm good with all of them. And Raj says the thing I love about Tobey Spider-Man is he had natural spider webs. I'm right there with you, Raj. I feel they should have kept that in the new Spider-Man movies. If a kid can invent spider webs, he should be making bank. And
Eh,
Bobby says, but Toby wins.
yeah. But yeah, but Andrew Garfield didn't invent those. Oscorp did.
Yeah, and that one, yeah, he got him from Oscorp.
But Tobey Maguire wins, says Bobby. Awesome. Yeah, agreed, man. I said the same thing. I feel like Sam Raimi was right about that. I think that feels like if you got somebody's body and senses and it
Mhm.
mutating a little bit because of a spider bite, and his DNA is mixing with a spider, why wouldn't he be able to poop out spider webs? You know,
Right.
I'm just
Yeah, I
surprised they
mean,
came out of his wrist. You know, it's yeah.
they should have had him got bit on the wrist or something. That'd be perfect. Maybe so you just give him a reason.
Well,
Well, and go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say. Well, he ends up going. He fights with Vulture. Ends up going back. He ends up finding out he has a tracker in his suit. He ends up going on a trip to. He was on the nerd team, science team, and he was
Mhm.
not going to go on this trip. But once he found out it was going to be close, it's one of those plot things that they do where it's like, oh, this high school trip is conveniently close to where the Vulture is going. He finds out that Vulture is the girl that he has a crush on. It's her dad. Michael Keaton is the girl's dad, and it's a really tense scene, dude. He goes to pick her up for the homecoming dance. First of all, he musters the courage to ask this girl out. Goes, picks her up for the dance, freaks out when he sees her. He's really uncomfortable. And that whole time, I forgot how tense it was. Even the ride to the
Yeah.
school, it's like a horror movie tense. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and that's the thing. As a young man, you know, meeting the dad, period, um, is tense, and especially I just love Michael Keaton, and you don't know if it's his character doing it on purpose or not, but he's like cleaning a butcher knife, when like whenever he's talking to Peter and stuff like that, and it's just a tense situation, period. And then, but knowing that he's the freaking vulture, and you've already because it'd be like, oh, could I take this guy if I needed to, as a young man and all that crap, but he's already fought him and he's already like, oh man, like this is the freaking vulture. It's insanely tense. It's so well done by both actors.
Yeah, it's real. And what's great too is they get inside, or he has the talk with him. Basically says, "Go in there, make sure my daughter has a good time. Not too much, not too good a time. And I'm giving you a chance because you're a kid." And to him, he's like, "This is a kid. I'm gonna give you a
Mhm.
chance to walk away from this because I'm doing grown up stuff, and you're just a kid, and I'm gonna let you walk away from this. And if you do anything, I'm gonna kill you and everybody you love." And he laid a pretty good threat on him, and then
Yeah,
let him out of the
with
car.
a gun in his hand the whole
Yeah,
time.
and then let
You
him out of the
know?
car, and it's like that's some pretty Tony Soprano stuff. You know what I mean? Like the only reason this guy's getting a break is because he's a kid. That's the only reason. And that guy is a parent and has a soft spot for he's got a daughter and a wife, and he's like, this is a kid, and you do whatever you need to do to grown up men to make the world go round and keep my family happy. And
Mhm.
so and this guy falls under that category. He's a kid, and so I'm not
Mhm.
gonna do anything bad to him. Yeah, until I have
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
And so I
Kid.
and so I really liked how though he gets inside and then all of a sudden he's like, I have to go, and he takes off, and I was like, oh wow. And he goes, gets his suit from under the lockers and all that, but the whole time he already knew before he even got out of the car that because he left his phone in there to track. And so I was like,
Right.
dude, Spider-Man, right away he knew he was going to do this. Um,
Well, and what's good about this movie is that so before this, we kind of jumped over. Iron Man took the suit away,
oh yeah,
the super suit. Like he had the special Iron Man suit, and then he screws up. There's a big boat scene, um, and Iron Man's like, "No, you're not ready, kid," and he takes it away.
I did skip that
And
whole thing. I'm surprised I didn't write a note about that. Yeah, that scene was cool.
mhm. And like the because I do like the line that he says. He says like, "I'm nothing without that suit," and he's like, "Well, if you're nothing without the suit, then you're nothing with it, or something."
Yeah, you don't deserve to
I
have it if you're nothing without
yes,
it.
that
Yeah.
yeah, and like he goes back after at the homecoming dance, and he pulls up all the lockers, and he's got his crappy jumps, or sweatsuit, Spider-Man suit, and that's what he's got to fight the freaking Vulture in, who he could barely take with the Iron Man suit.
Yeah. That was an awesome scene too. Like with the boat gets cut in half.
Hmm.
He and he finds out like Tony Stark called the feds. The whole thing was a sting operation. They were gonna shut it down, and like he didn't know it. And who told them? Tony Stark did, because I'm Iron Man. I don't have time for little piddly things like this. But I called the right
Yeah,
people to get on it, and
yeah.
so and then he went and screwed it up and got the boat cut in half. So, um, yeah, you should get your suit taken away from you, Junior. Um,
I do want to say one thing that I noticed. This is off topic of what we were talking about, but after rewatching the movie, I think I'm correct. But whenever he's just becoming Spider-Man, or Tony gives him the suit, he goes back, um, and he's doing some Spider-Man stuff. It's just little stuff like the guy gets his bike stolen, and
yeah,
he's kind of hanging out. And there's the big fat guy, and he's like, "Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip," and he does a flip. It's like a tiny little scene,
yeah.
but there,
Then he
I
does
think
like a
that's
double flip off the roof, like after that. But
I think that's the same guy who's in Shang-Chi, who's like, "Hey, yo, it's your boy," and like recording with his
oh,
phone.
really?
And I think so. I really I rewatching it. I was like, "Is that the Shang-Chi guy?" Like and Marvel's good at doing that stuff. So wonder if it is. I don't know how I would check that
I'm gonna
because I
I'm
don't even
gonna
know.
have to go
I wouldn't
watch
even
that
know
again.
what to call him. Yeah, what to call him in the Homecoming. Like burrito guy or flip guy, or it looks like he's getting a burrito or something. I guess up there it might be a hot dog. I don't know.
Well, on Amazon Prime, sometimes if you move the cursor, it'll like or like the controller, it'll show you
Oh yeah,
all
yeah,
the actors that are in the scene. I really like that Amazon does that. If you
yeah,
if you
yeah.
push down it,
X-ray or whatever.
everyone that's in the scene, it'll tell you.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's really cool. That's pretty smart because you're always like, oh, what's her name again? I can't, and you're like,
For
hold
sure.
on, and then your wife's like, God, that's Jessica so and so. You never remember her name or whatever. Now you can just quickly solve that.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Uh,
Shazam, where all of a sudden, like, hey, what's this song called again? And you just, it's like, man, it's nice being in the future. You don't have to learn stuff; it's just there. I can't wait till Elon Musk gets his chip, done, so we can, install that thing and have forever knowledge. Good times. Well, after all that happens, Peter chases the vulture down because he's got in his own clothes and has to stop him and kind of gets his butt kicked, and the vulture collapses the ceiling on him, and he's got a big cement structure on top of him, and he's done, dude. He's panting, and he's like, ugh. And
and
he that really stressed me out too in the theater the first time and this time when I saw it, because I'm like, God, like he's got all that cement crushing him, and he's a kid, and
he's a yeah, and he portrays it like he's like like, oh man, I fucked up. This is like like when you were a kid and you did something stupid, even though your parents didn't tell you, and you're like, oh man, I'm fucked. Like
yeah, you
like
broke your
he
leg, and
portrayed that.
you're like 6 blocks from home, and you got to like limp home with a broken leg or something. He's hurt. Uh, which, by the way, I got to send you a TikTok video of this kid on a razor scooter that's getting chased by a bird. I'll laugh for like 5 minutes. It's so the kid's like, the kid's losing his mind. It's the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. Only because there's no harm that's going to happen to this kid. It's just a harmless bird. If it was a real threat, a dog, or was going to bite him, I wouldn't be laughing. I'm just saying that so karma doesn't make me break my toe on the coffee table later. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. I sent it to a lot of people. Anyway, he's stuck under the cement, and then he like all of a sudden he has a like come to Jesus speech with himself. He's like, I gotta Spider-Man. It's time to be Spider-Man, and he's like, without the suit, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve the suit. He's right. This is like either deliver or you're done. He's like, I'm pinned, so I have to like. And my mom had a situation. I should be giving my mom's business out. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, she
All
was
right.
she was like, nobody was home, and she had a situation where she was like, I gotta figure this out on my own. And
Mhm.
those are scary moments, man. Like cut a limb, or you do something
Absolutely,
by
yeah, man.
yourself, and you're like, what do? You got to figure it out. Got to take my belt off and make a tourniquet. Like, I don't know. All right, anyway, so he
That
does it. He's like, and he just was like, and it's such a like badass scene. Peter, like, he's like, all right, and he gets out of that thing, pushes out of the rubble, and it makes me. Both times that I saw that made me want to go online and look up the chart that has the strengths of all the superheroes of who's
mhm,
stronger than who, because Spider-Man's way stronger than you would expect compared to other superheroes. He's actually a lot stronger than a lot of
for
superheroes.
sure.
Uh, and I just think of him being agile and being able to do a bunch of acrobatic stuff, but he's super
Mhm.
strong. Um, and anyway, he gets out of there. He chases down the vulture. Figures out vulture is hijacking. Is going to steal some stuff out of Happy's plane, Tony Stark's plane. They're moving because they're moving from the Avengers building to a new Avengers compound out upstate. And basically what Vulture does is he steals alien tech and high dollar tech, and then he sells it to criminals. So he's going to go do this, and I would imagine there's a lot of good stuff on that Stark jet. What do you think?
Yeah, they even say, some of the things, what was it, Thunder Gird or whatever it was, but Thor's magic belt, which was a real thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Thor had a magic belt that each time he would, like, pull it a little bit tighter, he'd get stronger. They had it in the comic books for a little while, but even in Norse mythology, that was real. Uh, and the part, that you're talking about, where he's stuck is a very famous, part from the comics. He and it's kind of the same situation. I can't remember if he was actually fighting the Vulture, but, I think I've got it in there, but yeah, he's stuck, and it's where he does exactly what the movie shows is like he pulls it together and he shows his strength, and it was one of those things that were kind of like the revelation you had, like, man, Spider-Man's fucking strong.
Yeah.
Um, and they've kind of tried to do it like in the one in Spider-Man 2 where Toby stopped the building from falling on Mary Jane. I don't remember if they did tried to redo it in Amazing Spider-Man, but it's one of those just classic scenes that almost like great power comes great responsibility. That kind of just that comic book fans know, and they're like, oh, they did that, and they did it right, so um
I love in the
y-
Toby one where like where he's stopping that train. He shoots the webs on both sides. He's
yeah,
in the front of the train. It's bent. It's mangling the front of the train.
yeah.
He's holding it so hard. Like that's pretty cool scene.
And yeah, I love how he just kind of passes out at the end. He's like, he
Yeah,
did it, but it was like that. It took every single inch of him, and that, yeah, that's a great scene. God, that's a great
yeah, man. So he ends up. I love it. At the end, he leaves a note with Vulture. He stops him. It's a
scene.
pretty sick sky battle. A lot of stuff going on, and then finally he leaves Vulture uh, webbed up with all the tech webbed up down like tied down with webs, and leaves a note for Happy that says, "Hey, this is Vulture. I found him. Spider-Man." And I thought that was awesome. And then everybody's like, "Oh, we're douchebags. 'Cause this is a good kid," and we totally underestimated him and didn't listen to him. It's like, yeah. If you guys would have listened to me, he does such a good job of being a little shit, like
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
in a
Like,
good way, a positive way.
yeah, yeah. He definitely portrays that character of, like, the good kid that's like, he knows he's good, so thinks he's better than he is at first, but then he lives up to it.
Israel. Oh, hey,
Hey,
Israel. How you doing, man?
hey, Dave, what's up, man? He's from McAllen, Texas as well.
Yes,
Clint,
sir.
as my buddy is.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like, and then at the very ending, that train scene is iconic. It really does.
Mhm.
It does. And they kind of did a similar thing where he's trying to keep that boat from splitting in half. He's like webbing it together, and
Yeah,
then at the Karen's like was it Karen or was that the name of his
yeah, Karen.
yeah.
Yeah, he just named her that.
Yeah, I was like at the very end she's like, "Hey, you were 98% successful."
Yeah.
98. Uh-oh. Woo. Um yeah,
Well,
it was good.
well, that's the thing too. Is that one thing about this one that um with especially like the boat scene kind of points it out because we kind of just forgot about it for a minute, and it's a good scene. But that's the thing that like Raj and like both of us were talking about, the train scene's iconic. Like the the boat scene, it's a very good scene. It's enjoyable and stuff like that, but it doesn't have the sense of like dread. Like the people on that train, like, and the people on the boat could die as well, But like just director wise, it didn't convey enough intensity to like you just kind of knew it was going to work out.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't
it's
know Iron Man was going to go save him and stuff, but the train scene really conveys that intensity more.
it's kind of because we've already seen it. You know what I mean? If you've seen him
Yeah.
suspended between two
Yeah.
things,
Oh.
trying to hold
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
together, it's like okay, he'll probably get it. And then they put the twist on it to where they're like 98%. It doesn't work out. So then you have Tony Stark come, and that reinforces the screw up kid who can't get it right. He's trying so hard to get it right, he can't get it right. Just follow
Yeah.
directions, kid. I liked the ending. You see Michael Keaton in jail, and then the other dude, what's his name?
It's Scorpion, but
Yeah,
I
Scorpion.
can't remember. Yeah,
I have his name written down, but asks him,
Max.
uh, asks him, base. Oh, I have it
Uh,
written down. He
I
basically
heard you
says,
know who
"Yeah,
Parker is.
I heard you know who he was. Oh yeah, it's Mac
Or
Gargan.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But he's like, yeah, I heard you know, and I like how he says, hey, if I knew who he was, he'd already be dead.
Hmm.
Now I'm like, is that a respect thing because he saved him? He saved him
Yeah.
from dying. He pulled him out of out of the flame. And again, this is a kid, and I respect him because he's a tough kid. Uh, so
Right. I absolutely think that's what happened because not only did he, it's like first of all he could have killed me, so he So not only did he not kill me, he could have just let me die, and he didn't even do that. He saved my sorry ass. And like that's the thing when it comes down to it, Vulture's still going to be a bad guy. Don't get me wrong, but uh, it, but he's a good dude, kind of like he was. We already established he was only doing it to help his family, um, and he didn't want to screw that up. So uh, now it's screwed up. But like at least he would have been dead.
Yeah. He would have been, and he was like, "Wait, your engines are gonna overload. You're gonna blow." Well, man. Well, let's talk about some Far From Home action. How did you
Alrighty.
feel? How did you feel about this one? Let me give this screen. There it is. Look at that. Far From Home. We got a little bit of Nick Fury in the house, and
Yeah.
yeah, we got a little Quentin Beck in the house. We got a little Tom Holland and Zendaya in the house. Yeah. So, how do you feel about this one?
I'm not sure how. I mean, but I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. Overall, I mean, I thought they did Mysterio very well. I mean, in the comics, he was like a movie special effects guy, and that's how he pulled all this stuff off. This was a better, more technological, you know, way of portraying that. I'm not. There's a lot going on, and this to me it kind of has the issue of what I think it was Iron Man 2 had for other people. It was like so much Avenger stuff, and Phil's right. There was so much other stuff going on that it kind of detracted from it a little bit. Um, but I mean, it's little stuff. It's not. Uh, Israel says, quick takeaway before I go. Holland Spider-Man, very teenager, don't like his buddy. That his buddy knows the secret identity. Iron Man's tech not so necessary. I agree. Spider-Man
There it is. Back up.
maybe doesn't know his own strength. The adults kind of guiding him on what to do. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. His Iron Man is kind of you know guiding him in the right direction and stuff like that. In a lot of these movies, and but yeah, with Far From Home, I don't. It was definitely good. Don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed it both times, or several. I've seen it a few times, but in the theaters, yes. But to me, I think the main flaw is, and other people don't feel this way. I've talked to other people about it. To me, the initial storyline with Quentin Beck from another universe is better than what it turns into. Like it's like you can tell that was the idea all along when Mysterio's playing everybody. That's kind of what Mysterio does,
Right.
but especially the time it came out, and I think there was already multiverse talk after, or something like that. And seeing that trailer and seeing that fake storyline, and seeing it in the movie, I was like, oh my, yeah, this is so cool. Like this is amazing, and he's gonna turn bad somehow. And then when it falls through, I was kind of like, I mean, it was still a good movie, but it was like, I want to see the multiverse, like
Yeah, they were teasing
Mysterio.
everybody.
Like,
They're like, "Oh
yeah,
yeah,"
like,
and like, "Sweet multiverse, awesome!" And they're like, "Psych, I'm a fraud." I
yeah.
was let down
And
by
they're
that.
like, and they're like, but the next movie, like,
And also, and there's people that have their issues with No Way Home too,
mhm.
where they're like, yeah, but that's not possible. Drones can't project stuff like that, blah blah blah, or that. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
but you know what, dude?
come
You're
on.
a 40-year-old watching a comic book movie, and you need to get over yourself. This is for
Like,
kids. You know what
come
I
on,
mean?
like,
Yeah, come on. This is like you're a grown up watching a. You're giving you're giving arguments. You're like ready to go debate somebody. You got your notepad, and you're like, technically, blah blah blah, the blah blah blah. I'm like, get out of here! It's a comic book movie. What are you talking
yeah,
about? You're not
yeah.
going before a jury in a courtroom. This is a freaking comic book movie, and you have no friends. That's what I say.
It's it's not the guy that can crawl on walls.
Yeah, it's
That
just
bothers you.
yeah.
It's the fact that the drone tech is like 20 years too early.
Yeah,
Like,
losers. Um, yeah, that like but it did bother me. I was like, I don't like this. I liked the character. I had a hard time with him. Did I not pull Far From Home up here? I thought I did. Um, I had a hard time with the Mysterio character. I wanted to like him, but something about Jake Gyllenhaal rubs me the wrong way a lot of times. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I want to like him, but he's kind of weird
he,
sometimes. In a lot of roles, he's kind of weird. And so and I felt like he was maybe he just did an amazing job because I felt like he was faking being a good normal dude, which is exactly what he was doing.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
felt that it felt weird.
I did think his acting was better once he turned into the scumbag Mysterio.
Yeah, absolutely.
We nailed it. And so maybe you're right. It's not that his acting was better. He was acting so well that like he was acting to not act well.
It was like how would I act if I was tricking a high school kid into believing I was
Yeah,
a good guy? And that's what he did. And I'm like, I don't
yeah,
believe this guy because I'm not a high school kid. That's the
yeah.
problem.
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't trust this douche. And
And
I
you could
was
say
right.
you could say he fooled Nick Fury too, but as Phil points out, that wasn't even Nick Fury. That was
That's
some
what?
scroll.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alarm. Rajneesh says, ha ha ha, harsh but true. CBM being debated is a whole other level, is too much time on your hands. That's right. You have too much time on your hands if you don't, if you want to sit here and debate comic book stuff. It's like, get out of here. That's bullshit because blah, blah, blah. Get out of here, dude. It's a kid's movie, okay? You're too old. Go watch Bonanza. Get out of my face.
Yeah, or schedule some time, and I will debate you at length.
That's
But
right.
like, not in the middle of a movie, dude. Like, get over it. Man.
So
Yeah,
they open.
we got a
So
lot of good. Go ahead.
yeah.
I was
So
just saying we got a lot of good comments over here, and we got some new
what do we
people in the
got? What do we
chat.
got now?
We actually have Zendaya. MJ is in the
Oh,
chat.
cool. When we see Andrew and Toby next time, it's got to be in the Secret Wars. We see any of the Spider-Man, it's got to be in the Secret Wars.
Yeah.
When we let's see here. But a holodeck is totally possible. Exactly. Yeah, that's funny. So let's see what else. What other notes? So the school opens back up after the blip, and a bunch of students hadn't aged.
I really
They
did like that. I really did like how they handled the blip, though.
and then they organize a Euro trip. Happy tells Peter that Nick Fury wants to talk. And then Peter ignores Nick Fury because he's all distraught about Iron Man. He's just kind of over the the superhero thing. And then Fury shows up and gives him Toby, which is cool. What?
To me, one of the best scenes in the movie when Fury shows up.
Yeah,
And
like you
dart
think.
guns Ned in the neck. He's like, another motherfucker knocks on that door.
Yeah, and he's like, you really think you can evade me? I'm Nick Fury, dude. Like,
Yeah, you ghosted me.
look, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And he gives him Tony's glasses. And says he's his successor. And gets these glasses, and now he can control Edith, supercomputer, weapons, all the stuff. He's the basically new Iron Man. Which is crazy. Which is crazy. Out of all of the Avengers characters and things that people that he could pass this information to or these tools to. In fact, I wonder if there was a big chunk of money too. Here, kid, here's
Yeah.
$1 billion.
It sure doesn't seem like it. Poor Peter and his
Yeah, I was like,
and
you'd
Aunt
think.
May are still in that crappy apartment.
You'd think he'd buy the apartment building. I need you to keep living in that building,
Yeah.
but you own it now. Take all the rent, give it to charity. Like, there you go,
Yeah,
kid. Yeah. You
and
were gonna say?
well, I was gonna say, and to the Edith thing came out of kind of nowhere. Like Tony always wore, sunglasses and stuff, and maybe the whole time he had that. Um, but um, I don't know. That seems it worked. I'm not, well, I guess I am nitpicking, but it would seem like more of a plot device than anything else. Um, but it worked. It pushed the story along. Um, so I don't know.
And Edith was just the name after Jarvis, right? It was like the new
It
AI.
was no, well, let's see. Jarvis became, but
Vision
he named it. It
or
stands
Ultron.
for even dead, I'm the hero.
Oh,
Is
really?
why I named it Edith. Yeah, yeah. It was an acronym. Even dead, I'm the hero. And I think so. I thought there was another one, or no. I think Friday was out. Anyway, but go ahead. Yeah. So yes, in this movie, yes, Edith is after Jarvis.
So in the beginning, we had an Earth elemental that showed up in Mexico, where we had Nick Fury, and Quentin Beck showed up and defeated the thing, and then that's jumping way back to the beginning. Fast forward to later in the show or in the movie, um, he ends up predicting that there's going to be a fire elemental showing up in Prague, and then Nick Fury invites Peter to help with this, and Peter's like, "I'm good. I'm doing my friend
Yeah.
Euro trip thing," and so Nick Fury, the diabolical bastard, reroutes the trip. He cancels things and makes some calls to make the trip get routed through Prague so that Peter will be there at the appropriate time. Um,
And
also,
then,
Quentin claims to be from another universe and tells them all that, and if that's where they get introduced to like this, I'm like, oh, cool. And I remember like sitting up in my seat when he said that
yeah,
too. I
I
was like, oh,
know.
this is cool. Another universe,
Yeah, he
awesome.
says he's from another universe, and these elementals came and they destroyed his Earth, and he figured out how to beat him, but it was too late, and his family died and all this stuff, and it was just like oh, like wow,
Give me more information.
yeah, I know. And then they flip the script on you,
That's right. Um,
but that's later. That's later. But um,
so
we get the team up of Mysterio and Night Monkey, the hero Night Monkey. I,
which is awesome because a little part of me when you see him dress up in black, it gives you a little a little Venom goosebumps. You know what I mean? You're like, oh,
yeah,
is this going to lead to Venom? Back then, it was like, like, oh,
yeah.
sweet. Venom? No,
Venom,
it's not.
Venom.
No, no, it's not Venom. It's not Venom.
Yeah, yeah,
It's Night Monkey.
it's
Uh,
Night Monkey.
and then we have Quentin Beck. Quentin Beck shows up, and him and Night Monkey defeat this thing. Uh, you know, Peter ends up doing some super heroic stuff defending his friends, and it's a crazy scene. And after all this, he gives the glasses to Beck because he's like, you know what, you're a real hero, and I'm just a dumb kid, and you deserve this. You're the good guy. I look up to you. And turns out this dude's a fraud, just like I knew the whole time. What do you think of that? I knew it the whole time.
Uh, then why would you get excited?
He fooled me for a second, but yeah, this. Yeah, I'm like, oh, once they start talking about multiverse, I got excited for a second. Then I'm like, oh, he's not. He's a douche. He's a disgruntled Stark employee. Get out of here with that crap. Disgruntled Stark employee and with a whole bunch of other disgruntled Stark employees. I was like, Stark must be a real egomaniac, douchebag. Isn't very nice to his employees. I'm guessing. I don't know. He'd probably get outed on Twitter if he was if he was still alive.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. He'd be canceled.
yeah. So I'm like, I didn't like that twist. I was just like, this guy's a
I mean,
talented projection guy, and I know that's his deal in the comics as far as
mhm.
lighting. He was like a lighting expert and stuff for like movies and special effects stuff. But
Yeah,
it's
he was yeah.
yeah. But I was like, I don't know. And anyway, go ahead. You
Well, no, I was just gonna say a lot of people really like that twist, because I watch after rewatching, I watched some YouTube videos on it and stuff, and a lot of people really like that twist because it is very much more classical Mysterio. To go that route, it does make him very much more classical Mysterio, and you can make him a villain that way. But at the same time, like, uh, I don't know what that means.
I don't either. I just put it up on the screen. Diddy Colo.
That's my sister, but I still don't know what that means.
It's Brazilian.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Just
it
kidding.
means night monkey in Brazilian. Uh, but yeah, I just didn't really dig that twist that much, or it just wasn't as interesting, because. And here's the thing too: if we had been talking about another universe where they hadn't changed a bunch of the stuff and like a lot of the characters and the driving forces of this Spider-Man stuff, to make a big change like that would be weird. And then to go back to normal Mysterio would be like, oh, okay, now I get it now. But we're talking about where a ton of the stuff in the Spider-Man universe had already been changed. So I was just like, all right, let's go with this. Mysterio's a good guy. He's gonna turn into a villain, but let's see why. Maybe he gets the elemental powers or something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad, but I was just much more interested in that first storyline that was fake. Like, and maybe, hey, Mysterio won, man. Like that's what he wanted.
Yeah, and it also bothers me that he's not physically able to do anything. All of
No.
this is just an illusion. That annoys the crap out of me. I'm like, he's just hanging out. It's like this is a projection of things happening and everybody's believing it. I'm like, no, dude, I didn't. I know we're in real life. I'm that 40-year-old guy, but I'm like, I barely. I mean, we got the Tupac concert that
Mhm.
was projected. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're talking about future tech or Stark Tech, and I know they're gonna have they have touchable uh holograms now that they shoot air jets. Like we talked about this a while back. There's new technologies that are emerging where you'll be able to physically touch somebody and shake their hand, but it'll be an air. It'll be a hologram with an air jet that's fooling your sensory uh, and making you think you're shaking hands with somebody across the world. It's amazing, but really, dude? A guy like a hundreds of foot tall
No.
monster with smoke and all this shit flying around. I'm like, I'm not buying it. I like
Well,
this.
and
Clint likes everything except this Spider-Man episode. I remember it being in the theater, being like, I don't know, I'm just not buying it. Like,
like, and that's the thing, I buy it for whenever he's attacking Spider-Man with it, because he having all that, imagery on one person makes sense. You're overwhelming the senses. That's why he has to beat him with his spider sense. That's what Mysterio did in the comic. Okay. Like, that makes sense to me. If you've got, all, 10 drones or 100, however many drones projecting all this stuff to one person and overloading their senses, that makes sense. But yeah, the whole, like, to where everybody sees the same thing and stuff like that. That I don't know. It didn't.
it's weird.
That yeah.
It's hokey, but that's okay. It's okay. It's a comic book movie. You
Right.
jerk. Like, get over it, Clint.
And yeah. Well, and that's the thing. When I went with it, it was just like it was more interesting when it wasn't that. Like
And
it's
and that's the funny thing. It's like all of these Marvel movies are a little bit different to where some of them are very logical, and then sometimes they're campy and funny. Like Ant-Man's a silly movie, but there's
Mhm.
science involved that's a lot more even though I'm talking about quantum science that's made up, but but it seems more plausible than projections that fool Spider-Man. You know what I mean? And then, but it's supposed to be like kiddie. It's almost like it's for a younger audience, which maybe perhaps it is. But they all tie in together. Captain America, Winter Soldier. That's like a whole nother vibe than
For
believing
sure. Oh yeah.
Mysterio
Oh
is
yeah.
projecting elementals. So I had a hard time with that one, but I still enjoyed it because they're fun movies, and I really did like the idea of him using his spider sense to defeat him.
Hmm.
despite what his eyes are telling him, and I like that a lot. So
Yeah, that's how he had to beat him in the comics and stuff all the time. And it the end battle like worked for me as well. Like whenever he's fighting him, and it was kind of even neat that you know uh Quentin Beck's costume isn't the Mysterio costume; it's just like a motion capture suit, and he's standing over the bridge. Uh, like that, made it more fit better, and made it more real as to what he was actually doing. Um,
I I love that his final deed is to screw him over royally
mhm,
by outing his identity and like telling the world who he is
mhm,
and blaming all of this on him. Like he
right,
used his skills. He's like, "Okay, you may have beat me, but I just gave you the royal screw over of a lifetime. Here
yeah,
you go. Have fun with this."
and well, and so there's a lot of people too who believe that Mysterio isn't dead at all. That even his death was a projection to Peter. Like uh, Peter stopped him from killing him, stopped Mysterio from killing Peter, but the part where he actually gets shot and killed, like just like so that happens at first, and he's faking Peter out, and he's laying there on the ground pretending to die, and then Peter reaches up and grabs the gun because he's actually standing right next to him. He's about to shoot Peter in the head, um, and then the drones end up shooting him or something. I just watched it the other day, but he dies, and so there's a lot of people who believe that that Peter did grab the gun and stop him from killing him, but then he projected that he died, and he's still out there somewhere engineering a bunch of other stuff going on,
He
which
could be.
would be very cool. Like that would be neat. But he'd have to come back as another villain because he's got everybody on his side now with Mysterio you know, which we
S-
can talk about in a minute.
Spoiler alert: all of the Doc Ock and all of the villains that you see in the trailer are actually Mysterio
Yep.
projecting all these things into the movie. Just in case anybody didn't.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Just kidding. Yes, sir. So, overall, we're about to get into spoilers here in a minute, but before we do, overall, you enjoyed. For the people at home who are not ready to tune out, you did enjoy No Way Home, huh? You loved it.
I very much did. The I will say it drags a little bit at the beginning. It picks up exactly where Far From Home left off. Um,
You thought it dragged?
I did. Not like oh my god, dragged, but
You're like the
especially
only
if you
person I've heard say that.
but especially if you've been waiting to see this freaking movie. And I know it's not gonna be like, 5 minutes and then they're gonna hit it. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's important to the plot and this and that and the other. And it's but you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and it's a good like 45 minutes. I don't know, like till where it starts hitting. Um, and it's not in a bad way, like terrible drag. It's like I want to see the big shit, kind of drag. And and then two, I would say, and it seems like it's the Sony influence, but I will say that those people that are, talking about these spectacle movies and roller coaster movies, like this one was a lot of that. Now, in a
Yeah,
good way to me, that's what I mean. Like that, it was in a very good way. But like even watching it at parts, it was like some of it was done more for spectacle than storytelling. Um, and we'll talk about that whenever we get into spoiler stuff
well,
more. But
here's what
it's to me, it was noticeable.
here's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna put a clock up real quick. That's a spoiler clock for to warn people and give you and I a chance to go refill your beverage, take a leak, whatever you got to
Right?
do. And it'll be a fast clock, and then we'll come right back and we'll jump right into it and we'll do the No Way Home
Spoilers are
thing.
coming.
So I'm going to make this clock real fast. And we're back, Cowabunga gang. Woohoo! We are back. We're going to be talking about some No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home. We waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and now it's time for No Way Home. Yes, sir. Hey,
Absolutely.
we got 3 in the chat. Record numbers tonight, buddy. But we have our most important people here. That's what's important.
And to be fair, like I could, I bet a lot of them dropped out once they knew we were doing spoilers. So,
Of course.
because this is a movie you definitely want to go in fresh on.
Yeah.
But having said that, like again, we knew a lot about this movie, and it still landed it when it needed to.
It sure did, dude. Like, this movie was great. It was really good. It's as good as I wanted it to be, and normally it's almost as good as I need it to be. Bobby, are you okay with spoilers? Because we're about to start talking about Spider-Man. I don't know if you've seen it yet. We're about to start talking about the new ones. I'm gonna wait for Bobby's thumbs up, and I'm gonna not spoil anything until she says, "Go ahead, spoil it, dude." You don't have to say "dude," but yeah, like the action in this movie was great. I thought it was awesome. It's funny. There's a lot of surprising comedy in this, and Bobby says she's fine with it.
It's go time.
It's pirates. Okay, I'm gonna put a spoiler warning on here too.
Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
I think that's
spoilers.
the polite thing to do. Just in case some rando accidentally stumbles onto the stream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't want to get sued. Spoil,
you jerk!
It's spoiled Spider-Man. Actually, to be fair, as a teacher, both for Endgame and for this movie, I had to tell kids afterwards, like, I will straight up write you up if you spoil these movies. Like, I had already seen Spider-Man, but like for Endgame, I'm not kidding. There was about one kid was like, "Yeah, blah blah blah. I saw it, and I was blah, blah, and I hadn't seen it yet, and I was like, no, you get out of my classroom." Like, and it
Did you
wasn't just
kick him
because
out?
like but he shut up. But yeah, I straight up would have, and and but not only because I didn't want to hear it, like he was straight up about to start a riot in my classroom because kids were like, shut up, don't say anything." Like there was about to be a riot, like because this is like one or two kids that seen a game, and this one was like, "I'm gonna talk about it." Like,
I love that. No, he was probably digging the attention he was getting from people.
oh, for
You know what
sure.
I mean? You know how people
Just
are.
being a little prick, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's like, come on. So now anybody on social media that just stumbles across this, you've been warned. You've been warned. And if you are handicapped in the eyes and you can't read or you just can't read, I'm sorry if you're just listening. There we go. So I thought the action was great. Holy crap. I feel guilty, dude. I almost don't want to say anything. I'm like really scared to talk about it. Holy crap. I mean, we got the warning. Like, I think that's good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's and just heads up, handicap for the eyes. I think they call that blind nowadays, but but yes, we do.
We got all the Spider-Mans. We got them. The Spider-Mans showed up. You could hear the applause from space when the dude. Did your theater applaud when Nathan or when Andrew Garfield showed up?
They did. Yes, absolutely, they did.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like whenever you first saw the the person in the spider suit. There you kind of even heard like a like a little murmur first, and then whenever he whipped the mask off, it was like, yeah.
And you knew from the big eyes. I did.
Yeah,
as soon as I saw
knew
those
too,
eyes,
yeah.
I was like, it's him. This is awesome.
Yeah, I knew too, but like you just you never know, but yeah.
And Toby was
It
like, oh, go ahead.
No, well, what's I took my daughter Cece to see it. Y'all met Cece last week.
Mhm.
We went and saw Spider-Man together, and it's a long movie. She is 5 or pretty about to be 5. Um, and so dialogue and stuff like that, that's basically pee break for her because she's getting bored. Um, and so literally uh right before that scene, we went to the restroom, we came out, and I heard these 2 guys standing next to the restroom, and one of them was like, "They're not in it. I keep telling you, they're not gonna be in it. It's not like they're not in it." And I was like thinking, and I walked back in thinking, "Oh, this fucking guy's already seen it," like, because why else are you standing there talking by the bathroom, you
Yeah.
know? And but maybe he was going to a later showing or something like that. And I was like, "Ah, fuck." And like I walked back in, and it was maybe 5 minutes, and that scene happened, and I was like, "Oh shit." I want to go out there and be like, "Come here, jackass! Come look at this!" Like,
Yeah, they sure are. That's
yeah.
hilarious. That's a dirty trick. I wonder if he knew, or if he was just like he was just some random dude that was like,
If he's nice, then that actually that was it made it better for me because like I said, we've been talking about spoilers all year, for well, I guess it
yeah,
hadn't been a year, but like, and so he made it like I was like, "Okay, fine, I guess I'll be a little disappointed," but and I was like, "Oh my god!"
yeah. I didn't
It
know what was.
really made that moment bigger.
I didn't know what was gonna happen. Then he showed. I see the big eyes. He shows up, and then I loved it. He like jumps up and he's sticking onto the ceiling, and he's like, "Do I really have to like do a bunch of parlor tricks? Like, look, I'm yeah, like, nope." Oh, I thought that was funny. I really loved it. Toby Maguire shows up and he's wearing normal clothes, and I was like, "Is he like?" Because he's closer to my age. I was like, is he just not in shape now to be wearing the suit? So we're gonna have a Toby Maguire the whole time. That's what I was thinking at first. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe he's just out of shape and they put a jacket on him, hide his gut or something. And
I
then
didn't I didn't think it at that time, but whenever he was wearing the suit, I was like, "Is that CG? Like, what do they got going here? Toby, you still got it going on, man." Like,
yeah, he
whenever he
looked good in
actually
the
had the
suit,
suit
man.
on. Yeah, he
But
looked good in it.
like and then the wisecrack about him looking like a youth pastor was hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was like, dude, totally. Um, That was good. I really enjoyed it was funny, man. The movie was funny. They had a lot of good banter with each other, and then Andrew Garfield cracking his back, and like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
experienced that too, and blah blah blah. And, oh yeah, I got to stretch and all that. I thought that was really funny. The acting was really good.
Mhm.
We have some tragedy. For those who don't know, spoiler alert: we lose. Uh, we lose Aunt May, and
Alright,
I'd
I wanna
heard.
talk about that. Do you wanna talk about it now or later?
Let's talk about it right now. And I'll first, before you jump into it, I'll say I heard that was going to happen like a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, and I almost brought it up on small screen like a week ago because I heard this theory and I was like, I buy that because there's no Uncle Ben, and I was like, and Zendaya is probably going MJ is going to probably you see her fall in the trailer. They'll
Mhm.
probably have Andrew Garfield save her to redeem himself from not catching Gwen Stacy, and that's his way of fixing that wrong, or not letting that happen again, which they did.
Right.
And I was like, I bet you it's gonna happen. I bet you we're gonna lose because I'm hearing that, and especially once I heard that there was a tearjerker, I was like, dude, we're gonna lose her. I knew it, and it happened, and I was like, "Yep, I knew it." And that was one I heard that a long time ago.
Wow. Yeah, I had no clue it was coming. And it was very emotional. Uh, it hit home, and the fact that she said, the famous line, "With great power comes great responsibility." Um, like, and the way they did it too, like it was like, well, she's not gonna die, at first, and then she died. But the issue I have with it is, so she's one of two female characters in this whole MCU Spider Verse, right? I mean, Anybody else? Two major female characters, but any other female characters?
Yeah, not really.
Maybe Ned's girlfriend in the second one, kinda ish. Like, and so they did it, and they're justifying it, and they did it, and it worked. I'm not, you know, like doing this rant or anything, but they didn't have to kill her off. Okay, like uh, Iron Man already died. He could have been the Uncle Ben. Um,
They
you
needed a
know,
motivator though to make.
Uncle Ben, Uncle. Well, you're go ahead. No,
I was
continue.
gonna say
Finish that thought, please.
they needed a motivator to make him to push him to the edge of almost wanting to uh, kill Green Goblin, which is a feeling that the other two Spider-Men have had, losing Ben and feeling guilty and feeling like it was their fault. And he almost goes there, and that's kind of the magic of having the three Spider-Men in one movie is that there would have been no one there for to turn him around from crossing a line that would have made him into another person. That would have changed him. If he'd have murdered that guy, if he would have murdered Green Goblin, it would have changed him and
Mhm.
damaged him. And they stopped him. They were there to stop him from crossing that line. And they're probably the only people who can relate because they've gone through it and they made a big deal out of that scene. So
I
anyway,
have issues with that scene as well, but good. But and you're right. Okay, that you're absolutely right about that. But what I'm thinking is, I they didn't. This is the Marvel universe. They've changed so much. We've already talked about that.
right.
Okay, when she falls back down, um, uh, Happy's getting arrested. Uh, he says, "Get out of here, Peter." Peter takes off. Um, she could have been in a coma the whole time, and Peter wouldn't know. Okay, like they didn't have to kill her, and you still could have had that scene after he's already done the spell because he thinks she's dead. Everybody thinks she's dead, and Happy comes up instead of at a gravesite at her bedside and says, "How did you know her?" That scene still could have existed, and then like she's still alive. And then I know you have the argument of like, well, she wouldn't remember Peter either, but um,
Say that again.
at the same well, she wouldn't remember Peter because they got rid of everybody's memory of Peter.
Right.
And but at the same time, how great would it be if, not the next Spider-Man movie or even the one but like maybe the second one after this one, she wakes up from her coma and she's like, "Where's Peter?" And then it's something about like she was in a coma, so her astral form was somewhere else. You got fucking Doctor Strange in there,
Yeah.
but so he erased her mind, but not her astral form, and so she remembers Peter. She's the only one that does, and you got this whole other plot point going on instead of just rehashing a fucking Uncle Ben time thing or storyline with a great Aunt May, a great actress, a great somebody that everybody wants to see more of, and 150% of your female cast in this whole trilogy. Like,
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about the amount of what gender or is in I don't think they're thinking about that.
but
They're worried about she's such a great character and
Mhm.
played it so well that's what makes the stakes so heavy. That's what makes it an emotional thing. That's why we get so upset. And that's like Ned Stark dying at the end of the first season of Game of Thrones. Spoiler alert. Where you're like, "What? What the hell?" Like that's what makes it so intense. That's what makes you feel that and walk out of there. That's what takes you on a roller coaster that makes you like, oh my god! And 1 minute you got a lump in your throat and you're wanting to you tear up a little bit, and then the next minute you're laughing at some crazy stuff. That's part of the ride, and so they had to do that. They also needed to take. They also needed Peter to experience that. That's part of
but
what grows him up. It's not it. It's part of it where he realizes the that took him from being a boy to a man. It realizes the true stakes of things. Like the other deaths in his life probably happened um, when he was younger. You know what I mean? Too maybe too young to remember that detail, or but I mean, this is like his mom is his like last living
I
parent,
know.
and so it's like even Tony Stark, it really affected him, but this is like the one constant, and that's like can't change that. So all of a sudden, even like I feel like even the spell to erase him from everyone's mind, like memory, after losing Aunt May, like even his love interest and all that, it's like okay, that's my my crush, my high school crush, but that's not my mom. You know what I mean? Like that's like and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? She'll forget me. And even he goes and looks in on them later and then and sees that they're doing okay without him, and they're going to go to
Mhm.
school and they're probably safer without me, and then he and you know what? The I'm going to just leave them be because I know they're going to be okay, and that's like a sacrifice he makes of himself for them, and they're better off without me. And it's like a thing, like the most important person to him was Aunt May, and she's gone now, and now he's a grown up, and now he doesn't and ever he doesn't have Tony Stark, he doesn't have the Avengers, he doesn't have all this other stuff, and which is a brilliant way to do it. If you're Sony and you need to wipe the slate clean, we need to get this Tony Stark stank off of our Spider-Man. We need to get all the tech and the fancy suit off of our Spider-Man. We need to be able to make our own Sony Spider-Man movie with his own suit in his own world without any attachments anytime next month. If we want to make a
Ye-
new Spider-Man movie, now we don't have any of this MCU drenched all over our Spider-Man. And they also did it it's it's brilliant. And then they also, I thought it was weird how they just kind of had a Venom in for a second. Oh,
Mhm.
so you're telling me about all these superheroes? Okay, cool. And then they suck him out of there and leave a little bit of residue. So it's just perfect. They needed to turn Spider-Man back into Spider-Man. They're like, we had Iron Lad, Spider Lad, and now Iron Spider Lad, and now we need to turn him back into Spider-Man. So that's what they did. They gave him the great death that defines who he is, and then they got him back to a simple suit and doing things on his own. And now they get to have Spider-Man.
Okay.
Sorry,
Now
long
you're
rant.
right.
Go ahead.
No, no, no. But you're right, and you brought up some other points that I do want to get back to. Um, but here's the thing: is that it all of that was motivation. Okay, and it's motivation that has been done with Uncle Ben before, and two movies before, and it's nothing new. However, comic books have a history of it's called fridging a woman, and it comes from a Green Lantern comic where his wife or girlfriend was basically just killed and stuffed in a fridge just to give him motivation to do something, and it's like that's what they didn't have to kill her off. He could have had the same rage, the same feeling, and even afterwards, he's like, I put her in this coma. Uh, she's not going to remember me anyway, and it would be like she was dead to him. Uh, and yet you could still do something with that character. She's not dead and finished. In the comic books, nobody's ever dead and finished, but in the movies, it's seems like it's kind of staying that way. Um, and I just I don't think it was a good choice. Like, and again,
Because you like Aunt May.
well, because yes, to be fair, I do
Yeah.
like Aunt May. I do like the take that they did on her. But at the same time, like, yeah, like it was like, and if they had this other strong, female cast, like that's part of it too. Like, but it's just Zendaya, and she doesn't remember him. Like, so they'll probably bring her back at some point. But
Well, that's
like,
not. He's going to meet new people. They're going to introduce new
well, yeah,
characters.
I know,
He's going to
yeah,
probably go to college and have the college years, the Peter Parker college years,
yeah,
and so you're going to have new characters. He'll have professor that's probably a female professor, and then he'll get like a college girlfriend, and
hmm
then there'll be like some college spider girl will show up, and then some other things will happen.
and and what worries me is exactly I can't like you're the only other person I was thinking it, and you're the only person I've seen. I watched like literally all day YouTube videos about it, other people reviewing it, and you're the only person that brought it up the way I was thinking about it. They were like, "Oh, they ended it so perfectly, and they wrapped all this stuff up, and blah blah blah, and this and that." And I agree that it was a very good ending. Uh, Many things were wrapped up, but to me, it looked like Sony was wrapping up like we're wrapped up with Marvel. We can be. They've already said that they're going to do another crossover or so, uh, but they wrapped it up so that they can make their own movie, and that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Like
How
like
how
Sony having full control over Tom Holland, I don't want that.
we own Spider-Man. How do we make it so that we can make a Spider-Man movie anytime we want and don't have to
Yeah.
borrow other people's characters and make them with our characters? And we could throw Venom into the thing, or we got our own characters to choose from. How do we do this? We're gonna kill off the memory. Now there's
Right.
no reason like, hey, why isn't so and so looking for him? Everyone has forgotten him. And why is he
Mhm.
wearing this suit and not wearing an Iron Man suit? Because everyone's forgotten him and he doesn't have that suit anymore. He is in a new
Yeah.
now it's like basically washed their hands of all of the MCU. That's
Right.
essentially it. And they're
That's
gonna be doing some more movies together. But yeah, I just wanted
but
to
that
get that.
scares the shit out of me, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it'll be cool. So we'll see how it goes. What do
I
you
think that
guys in the chat think about that? And get to us, and we'll address those comments here in a sec. And that
absolutely.
just dovetailed a cool little snippet I'll be able to cut out to put on as a solo video talking about the washing of the hands of Spider-Man and the
Yeah,
MCU.
literally no one else has brought that up, like, and I'm like, "That's exactly what they're doing, that like, that's" and, uh, ooh, a Sony Tom Holland movie, I don't wanna see it.
As
I
soon
will see it, but I don't wanna see it.
as soon as I saw the new suit where the red and the blue meet and it's like a perfectly
Mhm.
straight line around the what I mean, like the comic suit, I was like,
Yeah, classic suit.
yeah, I was like, oh, they they just did it. Everyone like
Mhm,
all of a sudden it hit me when he starts swinging through the air. I'm like, they did it. Like that they
mhm.
effectively divorced themselves from the MCU if
Yep.
they want to. If they want to, they could still be involved.
Right.
They could come back, but if they want to, they don't. He's going to be living. He's not living in Aunt May's There's no contract with Marissa Tomei over. Not that they couldn't make that happen or whatever, but I'm just saying it's
Yeah,
like
but
he's going to be in a new apartment. And was that the same apartment that they had in the Raimi verse? I was looking at, and granted, I imagine all small New York apartments probably look pretty similar. I've been in a few,
the
uh,
one
but
you mean the one it just sure seemed like it, yeah, the one, yeah, yeah, because I remember thinking, like, what if Ursula walks across the hall or the guy
that's
goes, "You
yeah.
have your rent?" You know, like,
Yeah, he was like,
like
the rent, rent same time every month. Don't be late. And he gets in there, the dirty walls and all that. And I was looking
yeah,
at the bed in the same place and thinking about the Venom suit being on the floor underneath the bed and all that. And I was not the yeah, the Venom suit.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but
uh,
anyway, yeah,
I thought the same thing, yeah. Well, now and see, here's the thing too, uh, so do you wanna talk about Venom now? Or, I mean, there's so much to talk about.
there's so much to unpack.
So, well, okay, well, movie-wise, again, to me, the first part kinda drags, um, but, Willem Dafoe, like, deserves an Oscar for this freaking movie. I mean, I would pay $10 again just to see the scenes where he's in it. He steals the show. He is like, when he comes on the screen, the movie just blasts off. Like, the other stuff's important, and it's got Daredevil in it, the part that I thought was kinda draggy. It's got Daredevil in it. That's another thing we completely
Oh,
did,
that's a whole nother thing. Daredevil.
it Daredevil is
There's
in it.
so much to unpack in this. Like we knew. We'll talk about we'll talk about Hawkeye in a second. We may not even ever get to Hawkeye. We'll do a quick Hawkeye, but for those who don't know, Kingpin shows up at the end of Hawkeye. So I'm like, holy crap! Does this mean that we're gonna get Charlie Cox showing up as Daredevil? And sure enough, he's his lawyer. And I'm like,
And that was D'Onofrio, wasn't it?
that was
In Hawkeye?
D'Onofrio. Yeah, it's the
Yeah, okay.
same one. As soon as I saw the other one on Hawkeye, I was like, dude, for sure, Charlie Cox is going to be there. They have to. They're not going to do one and not do the other. And then also, Kevin Feige had said that they were going to have Charlie Cox. If he said if and when we do have a Daredevil, it would be Charlie Cox. Saying like we don't have any, like not really revealing any, basically saying there's a movie coming out in 2 weeks. I'm not saying he's going to be in it, so I'll just say if and when. Yeah, you basically just told us that it's going to be him, and it was. And then I loved it. He catches the brick, and he's like, "How'd you do that?" He's like, "I'm a good lawyer. I'm a really good lawyer." Yeah, that was awesome. We all know there's going to be an Echo show. Echo.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, Echo, the villain, the deaf, villain-esque sort of person. Right now, she's a person with a vendetta because she got her parent killed by somebody.
Antagonist.
Yes, much like Spider-Man, she got her parent killed, and now she wants vengeance and justice. She doesn't have she doesn't have two Spider-Mans to hold her back. So right now, she just has Hawkeye to say, hey. I could kill you right now, but I'm not, because I'm actually not a bad guy, and your dad was killed by somebody else. It wasn't me. And she didn't want to believe him. I guess we just jumped into Hawkeye. And
I was just thinking that. I was like, we can talk some Hawkeye if you want to talk some Hawkeye.
Yeah, we're doing that now, I guess. And then we'll jump back into Spider-Man. And so basically, it's the same thing. So she's going to find out who is really the guy that planned that, and which will be Kingpin. If you read the comics, you know that Kingpin is the one who killed her dad. And then in a weird way, he was like, "Okay, we'll just take care of my daughter." And he's like, "Okay, you're dead. Now I guess I'm going to take." I guess it's a weird thing, like much like Michael Keaton not wanting to hurt Spider-Man, where it's like, you know what, this innocent bystander, this innocent piece of the puzzle, this deaf girl, I'm going to put her in a special school. So he sends her off to a special school for deaf kids, and she ends up developing her talents, and then becomes useful to him later once he finds out she has talents and stuff. But he paid for all that.
I was going to say, I think that would be the difference between Vulture and Kingpin, because Kingpin probably had that plan from the get-go, like, I can use this and, like, make this girl an assassin or something like that. He was probably thinking 10 years ahead.
Yeah, I'll just kill her dad, and then
yeah,
like, I'll become her dad.
She's all mine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so there's going to be a show, and she's going to be the hero. So that's, like, if you're watching Hawkeye, you know it's going to turn, there's going to be a turn here somewhere. There's only one more episode of Hawkeye, so she's going to figure out some stuff. Kate is figuring out her mom is hanging out with Kingpin. So either this is to make her mom look like a bad guy, and then it's going to be a flip at the end where it turns out she wasn't a bad guy after all, or Kate's going to realize her mom's a douchebag, and then that's going to happen.
I'm telling you. So this was my favorite episode of Hawkeye so far. It sucks that it's the second to last episode. The other ones were fine, but it just honestly, the girls' night was just great. The Natasha and Kate talk. I mean, it was just so good. Like the back and forth they had.
It was
in the scenes.
Yeah, it was Yelena, not Natasha. Natasha's.
Oh yeah.
Natasha's
thank you.
long gone.
Yeah. And and then him going and talking, like she's like, she killed my sister, and then him going and talking to the, monument or whatever, the memorial, and
taking
like
out his earpiece.
Because exactly, and of course Kingpin coming in and all that stuff, and but Kate's mom, I think, is the ringmaster. I've been saying it and people are like, nah, whatever. Like, the ringmaster is a very much lesser Marvel character, but they're gonna bring her in. I think, and it was literally a dude that would hypnotize people, like, with a circus hat and stuff like that. But I think that this is the MCU's version of it, and like she just like gets all the pieces together and whatever.
Are you familiar with the clown assassin guy?
The clown.
He's that's who Kazi is. He's a guy who's a clown. That's from the comics. So I think it's going to be him that they're kind of playing him down as just like a side guy. But I think
Kazi. Who's Kazi?
Kazi's the guy that's like saying that's calming Echo down all the time and telling her.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's got a little more of a he's kind of a hitman kind of a guy. And
Does
so
he play a clown character? Is he dressed as a
yeah,
clown? I don't. I'm not.
he's a clown character. I've
I'm
never
telling you. I'm telling you. Kate's mom's a ringmaster, dude.
yeah.
Where are clowns in? They're in circuses, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
they need circuses. They need a ringmaster. I'm telling you. And
There
it's
we
not going to be like, I am the ringmaster. She's like, you could call me some like a ringmaster of some sorts or something. She's going to say something like that because it's a movie, like. But
Yeah, the also I read some stuff where there we go. I read some stuff where Kate's mom later in the comics, her dad's a bad guy, and Kate's mom ends up becoming a vampire in the comics
I
down
have
the
not
road.
read that part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have not read that.
I'm reading this thing here. I'm looking for the. This has got all the MCU stuff. I don't need that. Anyway,
Well, no, no,
what were you
go
gonna
ahead.
say?
No, I was just gonna say. So yeah, this was my favorite episode so far, and like I could easily see Echo getting her own show and it working, and like I think that's one of the things that not to go back to Shang-Chi, but Shang-Chi was always a street villain, or I'm not a villain, street hero, and would fight, even like guys that Spider-Man wouldn't even fight. He was a master of kung fu, which is awesome, but you know, like that street level villain or hero. Sorry, damn. Um, but and same thing with like Luke Cage, like those guys, and Luke Cage ended up becoming an Avenger and all that stuff, which Shang Chi is now. Well, anyway, but like to go with these new heroes at that street level and then kind of propel them up like would work because I'm not very familiar with that girl. I think she's fairly new. Um, or if she's not new, then again, I'm not familiar with her, but I do like the character. If they do something with her, it will work. Like the audience is already primed. Um, that's kind of what makes sense with stuff like Shang-Chi. And even though I am very familiar with the Eternals,
Mm-hmm.
or probably more familiar with than most people, but uh, the general audience, I mean, but like it reminded me of like when the WWF would like just throw in this new guy and be like, "Oh, he's so amazing! Oh, look at this! Look at that!" It's like no, you don't do it like that. You got to work your way up the ranks, man. You can't just come out of nowhere and beat up like the Undertaker. It doesn't work like that. So, like, I think that was maybe one of the issues I had with Shang-Chi, uh, and they could make his character work more with a TV show at first or something. Or maybe this is I'm really liking the TV shows more than I am the movies.
Yeah.
Not including the new Spider-Man.
Right. Right. Here I found in the comics Kazi also who also goes by the pseudonym Clown teams up with the Tracksuit Draculas, renamed Tracksuit Mafia in the MCU to take on Hawkeye. Kazi even murders Clint's neighbor to get at him and then returns with the tracksuits to get rid of any evidence. Later, Kazi and the tracksuits attack the building where Clint Barton lives, but Kate Bishop, Clint, and his neighbors are able to repel them. Clint deals with Kazi personally. That's the full extent of Kazi's story in the comics for now, but it's possible the MCU could take his clown persona even further, offering a direct counterweight to DC's most popular villain of all time. Is Kazi the Joker for Marvel?
Oh, come on.
Kazi
That's
does a few things going for him. He's driven to madness and murder. His main rival is also a superhero with no actual powers, but lots of gadgets. Also, he literally goes by the name Clown. Then again, if you're looking for a better approximation of the Joker in Marvel, there are plenty of other options. Okay, anyway, there you go. So anyway, so
this one
he's
guy that was in one series, like is gonna be the Marvel's Joker. Like, come on.
Well, in the comics, that's kind of what he is. He's a lot more than just some
Is that
random side thug that's just part of the
yeah?
crew. You know what I mean? He's actually significant, apparently. Um, I've never read any with any
Well,
clown
if
stuff,
that's in
but
the fraction run, I'm rereading that right now.
I
But
heard somebody talking about him, and I was like, huh? And I looked him up, and I saw some quick video that was talking about him. So, but anyway, I thought it was interesting. So I'm like, okay, he's probably the one who kills her dad, not Hawkeye. Is the short of it.
okay. Well,
Or
and
Ronan
so
rather.
I loved I love this last episode, and I think a lot of it is too like I love Yelena so much more than Natasha. Like
I love them
Yelena.
both, but I really love her
I mean,
personality. She's like,
yeah, yes,
"Hi!" She catches the hot sauce, and then she starts,
yeah.
yeah, basically
Like
interrogating
no,
her.
I like Natasha. Yeah, I'm not nothing against Natasha, but like after actually finally seeing Black Widow and just like Yelena is so great. She's like such a poser and like whatever. She's like, why do you do this? You know, like, you flip your hair. Why do you do this?
I like how they made her disappear in the blip, and then she comes right back, and 5 years has gone by, and she's like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
that was
and that yeah
that was a
yeah
super cool scene." Um,
that was done really well.
all of it, but that whole interaction, it like made me uncomfortable almost.
Right.
Where she's she's basically interrogating her and trying to figure out where Clint is, and it's like, oh, you want some noodles? Hey, we eat dinner together. You have to, the
Uh-huh.
whole conversation. I was like, dude, this is tense because she's playing really nice, but she's actually a ruthless murderer if she needs to be. So this is crazy.
Ye Yeah, and she straight up, like, saying, like, "Why do you believe what you believe?" But now, of course, we know that Kate's right,
Hmm.
but,
And
like, at the same time, like, why do you believe that? Well, because he's a hero. Like, you
and
know
and also she had the chance to kill her and didn't. She basically uh, tacked her, clipped her, and attacked her to
Yeah.
the roof and threw her off. And then later she had the chance to kill her, and she just kind of was like, "No, don't do it." So part of that was like, "What did your mom hire her? Is that why she's not, killing her?" Like, but no, we saw that that
Well, no, she just found that out at the end, remember?
yeah. But
Yeah, she didn't
that
even
was my
know.
thought though. When that
Oh,
happened,
okay, I
I was
got
like, I
you.
wonder if her mom is involved. And then we know it was like Valentina, Contessa, what's her name, Elaine from Seinfeld,
Right.
is the one who told her at the end of the other of Black Widow that she's the one
That's
that told
Clint
her that Clint killed her. And
killed
so
yeah.
yeah, so that's who really hired her. So I was like, there's a lot of threads that are all coming together, and now Kingpin's involved. So who knows which way this is going to go? But I heard a theory too where somebody was talking about it. Maybe Kingpin is not just a New York guy; he's on a world scale, and maybe like, and they're gonna blow him up into a bigger character than he already is, which he's huge. But
I mean, I could see that. Well,
like,
hey-o.
hey, like he's talking to, like, maybe he's talking. The theory was that he was like, maybe he's talking to the power broker. He's involved with
Mhm.
a lot of different things, and
I'm sure.
he's an international guy, and maybe
Yeah.
him and Elaine are gonna start the bad Dark Avengers or something.
He's literally fucking Jabba the Hutt. He's the Jabba the Hutt of the Marvel universe,
Yeah,
and you don't fuck with Jabba the Hutt depending on no doesn't matter what planet you're on. You don't mess with the Hutts.
that's it. That's right.
Uh, uh, no, we can. I do want to come back to Dark Avengers, but
Yeah. Well,
where you want to go, bud?
let's talk to me about Dark Avengers real quick.
Okay, so
And
I have.
I just noticed too. Let's see here. Oh, I just noticed on a had a weird notification. Oh, can you hear that?
Ooh, I hear nothing.
Hold on one second. I just gotta. We got small screens off doing doing a stream right now, so I got a notification. I was like,
Okay.
oh, yeah. Talk to me about Dark Avengers. What are you thinking?
So people have been talking about Dark Avengers coming for a while.
or
Um,
Thunderbolts.
yeah, both. Yeah, because they've got Baron Zemo doing Thunderbolts, and so I think it's going to be some quasi combination because Norman Osborn does the Dark Avengers. Uh, I'm sure Sony would love to do that, but it's not going to happen. And I don't think that they're going to let Marvel borrow Willem Dafoe which would be fucking amazing.
Yeah,
But
I think
I
they're
don't
gonna
think
do a Sinister Six film and do their own thing in the Sonyverse is
right.
what I think they're gonna do. Um,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Um, but so there's going to be like a Dark Avengers slash Thunderbolts, and Baron Zemo is going to run it and kind of do the same thing. Now, here's the deal. What got me excited? Uh,
no,
one of the best Marvel heroes is the Sentry. Okay, um, he is literally. I mean, and he's barely in it of all the Marvel comics. Like if you put them all together, he might have 50 comics or something like that. I don't know. Uh, he's basically Marvel's Superman. So, but it's like, what if Superman realized the power he had and realized that he could rule over these ants at any time that he wanted? So the Sentry has the power of Superman and is basically a god on Earth, and yet at the same time, he's like, I could destroy them all. Um, so
we got Bobby's conflicted. She's like, we got Clint on one thing, and we got small screen on the other.
uh, he just wants to look at us. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now, so what Reed Richards did. So the Sentry has basically a multiple personality disorder, and there's the Sentry and there's the Void. The Void basically is like, you know what, kill these humans that are bad or kill these people, and the Sentry is out to save them. And they don't. The Sentry's biggest villain is the Void, and he doesn't figure out that it's him until a certain point. Anyway, Reed Richards makes the whole world forget that the Sentry exists. That's the only way they stop him. Okay, and then they lock him away, and then he
How
becomes one
does
of the
he?
Dark Avengers.
How does he do? How does he make the whole world forget?
Some magic, or not magic, some science thing, uh, and uh, he gets locked away until the Norman Osborn comes calling with the Dark Avengers and makes him part of the Dark Avengers. And basically, the whole story arc becomes we got to kill this guy. Um, I never thought that he'd be in Marvel movies. I still don't necessarily, but
Who?
they basically made the Sentry, basically like Marvel Superman, like just unbelievably unstoppable. But they've just opened the door for the Sentry with this make the world forget thing. Like the Sentry could easily be pushed right in there and been like, and that's the thing. He's such an amazing character that's so under the radar that if you do him right, I mean, because what if Superman was crazy? That's basically the Marvel, like that's the Marvel formula. Like everybody's got a problem, and it's like if you haven't read the Sentry, I would go. There's like I said, it's not a lot, because he's so overpowered. He doesn't really fit in the Marvel universe,
Right.
and he's crazy. Like he is like crazy. Not to offend people with mental illness or whatever, but he is a not a stable person. Go out and read as much as you can. It's so great
Who
that
has to deal with him? Who is capable of fighting him? Is it like just a couple of like cosmic beings that can handle?
everybody, like he could, and that's what I mean. He just kind of wipes out like it, anybody that gets in his way. But it's not like he's and then and Norman can kind of handle him because Norman's got his own dual personality, with the Goblin and him. And so at first Norman can kind of handle him, and like that's the thing when he's Robert Reynolds, he's a very meek guy and he doesn't want to be over he knows what he can do is wrong,
Right.
and but it's a really great storyline because like yeah, what if Superman was crazy, or what if he just realized like these people suck, I'm protecting all of these bald apes, like these are terrible
Yeah.
people, like and uh anyway, but so I could see that opening the doorway to the Dark Avengers and potentially bringing the Sentry in. And it again, go read it. It's so good. It's so good. It actually started as an April Fool's joke.
Oh, really?
Stanley got involved with Wizard and was saying, "Oh, I found this character that I wrote a long time ago. It was basically the Marvel Superman, and I just here's the first comic." And everybody was like, "Oh my God, Marvel made a Superman character," and like they made a whole comic run of it, and then like a year later, he was like, "No, I was just kidding. That didn't happen." But it was so good that he just kept going.
No, that's great. Well, hopefully we see a little of that, or at least a teaser.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
at some
if you
point.
hear the name Robert Reynolds or Bob Reynolds in any Marvel movie, like remember it.
Uh-oh. Yeah, at some point they got to figure out how to pull all these people in. I'm also excited that John what's his name, Jon Watts.
Uh huh.
Yeah, that he's going to be doing
Fantastic
the
Four.
Fantastic Four, so that's pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, I could see him doing very well because, and that I don't know if these are Marvel or Sony movies, but obviously it's a mix. But anything that's good about it is Marvel. Like, let's
Yeah.
be honest. Uh, and he's obviously worked with them a little bit and knows the system. Sadly,
And
but
it's Feige, Kevin Feige producing.
right.
He's the filter that, you know what I mean. That's like, okay, that's not gonna work. This will work. Okay, you can do that.
Right.
That's too campy. That's weird. That's lame. You know what I mean? Like the weird behavior, like the Venom movie that wouldn't have flown
hmm
on in. I
No, no,
enjoyed
no.
it, but
Yeah,
it was a little bit too Nightmare Before Christmas, you know what I mean, for the MCU, and that wouldn't have flown. And that's Kevin Feige making sure that everything fits in that universe.
and that's why I don't see Venom being in the MCU. Like he's going to. I mean, that little spot of him, but
Well, he got sucked out. Now they just did. They just did it. They did it. Just they put him in and then sucked him out. Like he got at the end. Did you see the post credit scene?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, he got
and
sucked out of there. So the whole reason he was like, he was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me they even helped explain it. They're like, oh, so you're telling me there's a guy in an iron suit. There's a bunch of superheroes in this world. They're like, yeah, and
yeah.
this and that. And he's like drunk, and then all of a sudden he gets sucked out. And he's like, oh wait, we just got here. Wait, and then they send him back to Sony World. The whole point of that is for him to leave a little smidgen of residue. So that they can leave that in the MCU, so they can take that and make a Venom suit.
That and this is what I was talking about earlier about the spectacle and to sell tickets. What was the purpose? The only purpose of that fucking Spider-Man suit being dyed black was so that people would be thinking of symbiote stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you saw the preview, I was like, he's in a black suit at some point. Like, is that Toby's black suit or what? Like, what's going on there? And it's the same suit. It's just dyed black. And we knew that we saw the end of Venom.
He didn't do a black suit in this one.
Yep. Yeah, No Way Home. Remember, they put the dye they put the green dye on him, and he's like, I can't get it out. And then so they gave him a bunch of black dye, and was like, well, just dye it black. And
Did
he's wearing the black suit whenever he meets Electro and Sandman.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, go look at the trailer, and he's getting a black suit, and it's only for 5 or 10 minutes. But the only reason it existed is so that you would have trailer footage of him in a black suit, and it's got
I didn't even
like
notice that. How did I miss that? That's super
I don't
weird.
know.
I just
Yeah,
he had a dirty suit, and then he finally got Aunt May to clean it.
no, they couldn't clean it. And there's even a clip of her going, well, like if you can't clean it, just dye it.
Aunt
And
May
so they get
cleaned
some
it for
hair
him.
dye. No, they
And
get
then
some
later
hair dye.
he was like, "Hey, thanks for cleaning my suit."
No,
Yeah, did we see
they dye it.
two different I'm serious. He
I'm
even
serious too.
Yeah, he even says thanks for cleaning my suit.
Well, maybe after they clean maybe afterwards, but before that, when they're in Doctor Strange's dungeon, no,
Mhm.
he hadn't seen Aunt May yet. So yeah, okay, she must clean it later. But like they're in Doctor Strange's dungeon and they buy hair dye and then they put it on the suit because they can't get the dye out, the green
I don't
dye
even
that guy
remember that.
splashes on him.
I got to go watch
It's
that
only
again.
like 5 minutes, and like I said, that whole 5 minute scene, that whole part of the movie was just so they could put it in a trailer, just so you would think symbiote. And like and rewatch the trailer. Like he's in a black suit. Remember where he takes the mask off and he's running through the May, man, he's running through the thing. Like he's in the black suit right there. Whenever he first meets Norman
Yeah.
Osborn.
I
Yeah,
don't
he's in a
remember that
black
being a
suit.
black suit. That's crazy.
And it was just for the spectacle of it. And
Crazy. So we got his whole. You got MJ's okay. His whole backstory is wiped clean now, so they can do whatever the hell they
yep.
want. Um, issues. Okay, I'm gonna give you some issues that I get.
Okay.
Um, I have a hard time with magic in
Right.
in movies. Now, like I I can handle magic that can be described as by science. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like if you got like multiple portals and okay, it's interdimensional travel and time travel and stuff that could be scientifically explained. But like Wonder Woman 1984, we're going to make a wish on the stone and then magically everybody's thing is going to change. I'm like, okay, now we're watching a genie movie
Yeah.
essentially. And now you've completely taken me out of the movie and I don't believe it anymore. And like it's like, okay, do I get a wish? Okay. That's kind of the same thing with them erasing Peter from everyone's memory. I'm like like and I get it now. All of these other people in the other universes are aware of him, so you got to make
Mm-hmm.
him disappear because they're trying to come through. So you got to make his memory from everyone disappear. Like
Right.
all of those. Okay, I can handle that. But just the idea of like magically erasing someone's memory from everyone in the world it reminds me of Santa Claus. Like that's and so but then I have to say I'm a 40-year-old dude watching a comic book movie, so it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Matt and Phil's like, okay, magic exists. Yes, Matt, and again, magic orbs, magic teleportation, all that. But like, hey, you're magically erased from everyone's memory in the world. It's like the Tooth Fairy to me, and it's just like I can't buy that. Like, it's different if
Now,
now if you went back in time and undid all of the things that were like that created memories or went back in time travel and erased things that makes sense to me. But just like clouding like I guess if you call it hypnotized, we hypnotize the whole world to forget you. That's how you have to put it for me to buy that. So what I have to do is say, okay, look, I loved this movie, but the genie wish thing at the end to make me your memory disappear. I have to like you have to suspend that and then you can enjoy it. You know what I mean? If you're like it's like if you're a fucking asshole like if you want to be a jerk face and like tear everything down and not enjoy a movie because of that then you're a jerk face and it's like you know what dude like again this is a kids movie and you're a 40-year-old dude so let it go and that's what I have to do and I'm like I don't like the memory part I don't like I I could buy time travel but just erasing the memory that's tough without doing some hypnotizing but again it's also like there's a lot of stuff like that like there's a lot of 80s cartoons and movies and things that we grew up with that it's like
right.
okay okay like oh no I
But that's
also
what it reminds you of, you
yeah,
know.
I also touched the lamp, so I'm cursed. No, only the first person who touched the lamp is cursed. Why? Because that's the person that we need to have problems for the rest of this movie. You know what I mean? Like that's like they just make rules that do things like
Yeah.
no, it's only that. Why? Because we need that to make our story work. That's kind of what happens in a couple of little things in this movie. But you know what?
Yeah.
I got a lot of great things in this movie, so I'm glad, and I just let those things
Yeah.
go, and I'm not gonna harp on
You can
those.
let it wash.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and that's like like we were talking about kind of with Far From Home, like and even like the scene where there's thousands of drones attacking.
look at the look at the look at the erasing minds. That's what he's talking about. Men in Black.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just cracked me up.
uh, But even in Men in Black, it's like an individual, like, you could
Yeah.
like, not the whole world. Bobby's saying they ripped off A Wonderful Life. Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it just bothers me, you know? And I like everything. So I'm like, come on, man. Uh,
No,
ah,
fair enough, and like, I did m one of my favorite scene literally my favorite scene, and I'm going to record it and play it for my children, or not my children as well as the students, that I teach, um is whenever, he is battling Doctor Strange and he beats him with math because he's like, "Well, this is just a Riemann
yeah.
configuration. It's just geometry." And so there, somewhere in the comics, they did describe, Doctor Strange's powers, his magic, as physics from another universe, and so in different universes, the physics are a little bit different, and so he can pull those and use them. So
It
that affecting biology and blah blah blah, we could kind of make it work, but
And they've said that in other Marvel stuff where they just say, yeah, magic is just science that's more advanced than what we know. You know, to us it's
mhm.
magic, but it's actually science from other people's
Right,
weapons and Asgardian stuff and all that. That's just science from another realm or other
yeah,
planet. We just don't get it, so it's magic. And I'm sure Tony Stark shooting, you know, bolts of energy out of his hands
right.
to people in the Dark Ages would think
Tobey
he was
Maguire, like, would be like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
yeah, that's magic in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Like all those things are magic back then. Flying,
You could go back 50 years and show somebody a cell phone, and they'd be like, "You have magic.
he's a witch. Yeah, you got like jet
Burn
packs,
him! Burn him!"
burn him. Jet packs and
Or they'd be all like, "Hey, how's that moon base?" And we'd be like, "Yeah, we still ain't got that shit yet." And they're like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
well, that was my slight problems. I had a couple of little things to where I was like, you know what, dude, you got to treat this like a kids movie. And then you can enjoy it. That's you got a little element of Scooby Doo in this movie that
Mhm.
makes it like, hey, I need to do
But
a
I think they
spill. I think they were going for that. I think you're right. You know,
well,
like
I think they recognize that, yeah, because it even says, the Scooby yeah, like, I think they recognized it and, was
oh
like,
no,
kinda like, "You're ready for this."
my friends can't get into MIT because of me. Help, Doctor Strange. We need a special spell to make it better. Like, we better get
"Okay."
this going, Scoob. And then he's like, okay, okay. He even acts kind of campy. Oh, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for your meddling kids with my spell, you know. And he's like, oh, and that was like, okay, we'll just razzle dazzle you a spell that's going to make everything better with your school. And then, you know, Wong's like, I don't want any part of this. It's very Scooby Doo. And so him saying that
Yeah.
is completely appropriate. And, but I still loved it. It was cool.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, hey dude, you're a middle-aged dude. You're not a kid, and this is for kids. So if you got a problem with all of the, oh yeah, Doctor Strange just wasn't as
Oh,
serious, you need to get over yourself and realize this is for children. And
let's be
and
fair too. This is also a movie for middle-aged dudes.
oh, that too. But I'm
'Cause
just saying, like
yeah,
know,
that part was yeah,
you gotta know, you gotta don't act like it's not a kids movie though. You know what I mean? It's
right.
an adult movie.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
for everyone. But you gotta remember this is
It's still yeah, the
this is
storyline is
made up
like
this is made up bullshit. This is not, you know, I don't want to see some physicist saying, well, you know, technically, blah 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 blah.
but
No, you don't get to do that. Sorry,
yeah,
you don't. It's a
you
comic book movie.
you could have been like, "Well, actually, Andrew Garfield brought that thing that drops all the gas on everybody that his dad made apparently in Amazing Spider-Man, and we're gonna drop all this gas to make everybody forget," or something like they could have done something stupid like that too, like
Yeah, I did like how he's like, wait, so string theory? Yep, okay. And there's a couple of things where he was like, sweet, like cool, we proved these things. Um, yeah, but most important, it was a fun movie, and that's the best thing about this movie.
Y
It was fun, and if you didn't take yourself too seriously, you could really have a good time, and I did. I like
you're gonna have I would say honestly, even if you go in there taking yourself seriously, you're gonna have a good time. You might be bothered by a lot more things, but I just can't see how you can't go into this movie and not have a blast. I mean, or if you unless like if you've never seen any of the other Spider-Man movies, like you it you might not. really dig it that much. Like, I had a student who went and saw it, and the only ones he had seen were the MCU ones, and he was like, it was okay," like, and
Uh,
fair enough, and I was like, but, I mean, if you had seen even just the Garfield ones, even if you're not aware of the Tobey Maguire ones, like, but it's still a very fun movie.
I wrote a
Like, you're gonna
couple.
go in.
I wrote a. I didn't mean to cut you off, man, but I wrote a
No, not at all.
couple of things down, and one of those things is, um, are fans? You think fans are spoiled, and that look? Oh, it was okay. Um, I heard another kid before Spider-Man, but another kid, a friend of mine's son, that was saying, "Oh yeah, the MCU's going downhill," you know, and like, and I've heard a lot of people say things like that, and I wonder. There's a couple of wonders that I have. One of them is, first of all, we spent the last what is it, 20 years, um, building these stories to get to the point of Thanos, and like making our way to this big thing where we have an Avengers team introducing all these characters, slowly building, and then yeah, and then finally we have this huge end game thing, and then okay, cool, time for the next episode. Now they got to introduce some more characters and start building for that, and we reset. But now all these people are teenagers. They grew up with all these movies, but they're teenagers and they want the payoff right now. And it's like, yeah, you got the payoff when you were, 14, 15, 18, whatever it is, 20 somethings, but maybe you're too young to realize that it took years to get there, and now it's going to take a little while, but they're slowly building a foundation for what the next level of what's going to happen is. And so instead of just being like, oh yeah, they're just on, I didn't quite like that one, or I didn't quite like that one, maybe it's, you gotta it takes a foundation to build a great house. Maybe you just got to be patient a little bit, and every movie's not going to be endgame until it is, because the movies slowly got better and better and greater and grander. And so now that we're building this foundation again, is one, are we spoiled because these movies have gotten about as good as you can get, as far as like, dude, the CG is ridiculous. The writing is great. They've gotten great formulas. And that's another thing. Have they really just gotten a formula that everybody's tired of, or and run it into the ground, and now and they're just not doing it anymore? Or it's like almost like news, or like the news does it, like in magazines, like they've have to keep getting more outrageous and more
Mhm.
outrageous. Did you hear what Ben Affleck said about his wife? And blah blah blah. Like they're doing all this to get clicks. Well, the movies slowly are getting more and crazier and bigger and better and faster and brighter and louder and more exciting, and now we're like desensitized, you know what I mean? Like, I think, and so are fans spoiled? Have we gotten so much stuff that now people are impatient and they don't want to wait, and they need to realize that, hey, this is like when you watch a new series, the first 3 episodes are slow and suck, but then the third
Mhm.
episode finally established everything, and then, because that's how series, you get a new series on Netflix,
For sure.
usually they're like,
For sure.
oh, it's kind of slow in the beginning and then it gets really
I
good.
mean, yeah.
Is that what's happening right now, or are people
So
just, or do we have an oversaturation to where people are just burnt out and bored and not affected because you can't get any bigger and better anymore? Um,
so I think it's a little bit of both. So I definitely think that well, of course, young fans are spoiled because I'm an old man, but and not in a mean way that they're spoiled. But again, like we didn't grow up with these. Like we were lucky to get Superman and Batman, and as a Marvel fan, those were still great because they're superhero movies. But like a superhero movie was like few and far between. And then these kids that grew up, I mean, even if they're a 20-year-old, they've had a whole lifetime of Marvel movies. Very, very good Marvel movies, some lesser than others, but still fucking good movies. Um, and we were wishing for like we'd get excited for the fucking made for TV Captain America movie, and stuff like that. Like, or the Hulk series. We're like, oh my god. And so they to a degree they are a little bit spoiled in that respect. Um, but at the same time too, it's I don't think it's oversaturated yet. I mean, Spider-Man proves that. Uh, But uh, when you go, you're talking about we did Infinity Gauntlet and or Endgame, and we're resetting. Okay, that's absolutely true. But you got to think when you reset, you're going back to the start, and you're starting again. When they started, they had Iron Man. Okay, Iron Man was not an A-list hero. Okay,
Right.
he was definitely an Avenger, but he was not. His books were not like just kicking it out of the park. And then when they reset, uh, they went with Black Widow. That's fair. She had her last movie, and it was definitely like it was much better than what I heard and thought. And then they go to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi at best was a D-list hero. Okay, then they go to the Eternals. Uh, Again, maybe D-list again. I mean, doesn't mean they were bad. I'm just saying like popularity wise and stuff like that. And
I th-
in my opinion, they did neither really that well.
I
You
think the
know,
reason they went
Peop
Eternals is because they need. I think they're using that to activate the mutants. Like
I
like
think
you like
no,
you said, and that's
yeah, I definitely think so as well. But it's they're trying to get new fans, and yet they're trying to keep reinvigorate the old fan base. The old fan base, like we're gonna see them. I mean, I'm just gonna see it. Like they're gonna get my money, okay? But
ha ha.
oh.
Excuse me, Shang-Chi was my jam after Spider-Man. I liked it too.
Yeah,
So did most
I
people.
am I am the minority. I admit, like I've obviously been proven wrong. I concede defeat, but it's still not a very good movie to me. Um, and they have to like let's say uh even Ant-Man. Ant-Man didn't come in until like phase 3, you know. And Ant-Man was a founding Avenger. He was a founding Avenger, but he was just not a popular hero. He didn't, and then he became yellow. Like it's a whole thing with Hank Pym.
What year was Endgame?
Um,
What year did the new phase start?
seven, seven. Well, the new phase didn't start until after Far From Home. So Black Widow, whatever the release date was, was the new phase.
So
I
they
think,
end all that, and
or
then
maybe Black.
in a pandemic, and so you got to pause for 2 years, and then you've got
Mhm.
new movies now that are finally coming out, and it's a slow building process. So really, you got 2 years that
It
got taken away from people. So when you're a high school kid, 2 years is an eternity.
is a fucking long time.
It's a
Yeah.
long time. I remember, I have like Rancid, one of my favorite bands.
Hmm.
They have so many great records. Every now and then they put out a record that would think was a kind of a stinker, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be another like two. That's like 2 years till I get another Rancid album.
I
That
know.
and then it'd come out and it would be awesome. Sometimes um, and and so yeah, the COVID blip exactly.
Yeah.
So so I mean, like that's another thing, though. It's like we had so long with
It
no
is. Yeah.
stuff. With no stuff, it's another variable where people are like, "Oh yeah, yeah, they're just falling off." We haven't. It's been since I was years ago, back when I was in seventh grade when Endgame came out. Now I'm a senior. You know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
it feels like the whole world. We're like, "Hey, dude,
God.
this is a 17-year-old or 20-year-old universe
Yeah.
that you need to relax.
Or,
uh
like when you're in high school and you're like, I've never been in a relationship like this before. We've been dating for like 6 months.
yeah.
Like, I mean, we're obviously in love.
I go 6 months without changing underwear. Are you oh wait, never mind. Was I thinking or talking? No. So you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, these
Yeah.
are just questions I started asking myself, and I was like,
Yep.
and so I'm like, are the movies really not as good, or are we desensitized? And like, and then I asked too, is it played out formats? And then also with other stuff too, even not even MCU. Uh, there's a lot of studios just reusing IPs, recycling stuff instead of
I
creating
do
new.
think that's an issue.
That
But that's
sucks.
been an issue for a long time. That's
Yeah,
been an issue. I
Pe-
mean,
people get
the
mad at
remakes.
Well, they get mad at the
Go ahead.
MCU, but I'm like, they're just filling out their universe that they've been working on for a long time. Why don't you get
Right.
mad at Resident Evil 15, you know what I mean, or whatever new remake? Go
Yeah.
get mad at them. Like,
And that's the thing too is that like I'm not like I want them to fill out their universe more, absolutely. Like, but again, like I think Shang-Chi would have been a good series. Like to me, as a movie, it was too much crammed into one. So either a TV series, or I think it was probably planned as a couple of movies, but they were like, we don't know about it, so they crammed it all into one. Um, but and like you were saying, they just the over the top thing that is definitely a history with comics. Like hopefully the movies don't follow that track, but they keep going, keep going, keep going, building and building and building over the top. And then like the fan base drops out because they're like, this is fucking ridiculous. And then uh because and then Secret Wars actually started it, the first big event, like and it was made for toys, like the literally
yeah.
Secret Wars exists so they can sell toys, and so that was the first one, and then they did some more events over and over again, and then Infinity Gauntlet was the first one, like or not the like that's what started every year they would have a new event, like and everything would kind of be building to the event. There would still be individual comics, but like some part of it would build to the event, and then it kept going and kept, and then it got ridiculous after a while, and then that's when Marvel went bankrupt. They're like we can't sell any comics because nobody wants this anymore because they're just getting so ridiculous. And then new writers came in and they were like, we can do this, but like just give it a real story. And I think that's the thing too. Like people follow the characters. Like whatever happens to the characters, even it's like, oh man, I lost my wallet. And it's like, oh no, Spider-Man lost his fucking wallet. Like we don't care. We care about the characters. Like what will happen when Peter Parker doesn't have his wallet? He can't he can't go to the library or whatever. Like we care about these characters, and like a good writer knows that and then can build upon that. And so then they brought in a whole new, like a lot of the storylines that are coming from after the fall of that, like after the fall of Marvel, because they just rebuilt it in such a great way and did um, fucking amazing things.
Well,
Like
that's
I'm not kidding, it's so good.
well. Let me ask you this question: What are critics who complain about fan service crybabies or douchebags?
If
If you're a critic, because I've saw a bunch of critics, and most people are like, "Dude, we love this," but you do have some people like somewhere along the line, it became cool to just dog on stuff and be like too cool for school, and that's what hipsters. Oh, I don't like that. I'm, blah blah blah,
yeah,
and it became cool to be too cool for school. There's always somebody who's gonna dog on something, and you've got people that are complaining about fan service. But just by definition, fan service is doing things to make fans happy.
yes,
So what that tells me is you're a non-fan who's jumping in, critiquing something you don't even like, and then complaining about
or know
things.
about because
Yeah,
you're not a fan.
yeah.
Yeah,
So to me, I was like douchebags, and I'm like thinking, oh, you got like 100% critic score, and then after a while, it was like 96%, and I'm like, of course, because you always have douchebags. But then I listened to a bunch of reviews,
yes,
and the people that are like to be, me, I have the stigma. Oh yeah, Clint likes everything. Like it's kind of a joke, but
hmm
I am a simple man that's easy to entertain with shiny things. So whatever, but people who are more distinguished and learned about about cinema want to take a dump on everything because they feel like they're supposed to, and if they don't say something negative about things, then they're not doing their job. So they go out of their way and shit on everything, and that's
they,
how they live their life. And if they want to live their life with less joy than everyone else, I mean, more power to them. But to me, I think it's okay for stuff to be good or to like something. You don't have to shit on everything. And I feel like a lot of people do, and a lot of critics feel like they're not doing their job if they don't do that. And that's just me. Of course, Clint likes everything. So, again, I'll
I
ask, are
feel
critics who complain about fan service douchebags? Are they crybabies? Should they shut up?
so. First of all, I feel like you're talking about me because
No,
normally on
no,
this show I am Nancy Naysay, I am Debbie Downer,
no,
I
you're all.
am
We kind of fall into those roles, like it seems like, but really, you and I are on the same page about most stuff, and but we kind of grin about it, and we're like, okay, I guess I'm playing the negative on this one. I'm like, I guess I'm pro on this one. And we joke about it, but I mean, I've watched several reviews, um, and there was like the serious guys, the ones the ones that want to be taken seriously, because I'm
mhm,
a real film critic.
journalist.
Yeah, they feel like they have to be negative or they're not going to be taken seriously otherwise, because that's just by nature. It looks like, hey, I liked it, it was great. We're like, well, this guy doesn't look like he went to school for
Yeah.
movie
Anybody could say that. It's like,
journalism or anything. Yeah, he just looks like he's like enjoyed his candy. You know what I mean? Like
but I
so
think
so,
so
and I saw
I
many reviews where they were like, yeah, well, aside from all the fan service, they almost have to put a disclaimer. And I'm like, dude, fan service is okay. We've been we've been chomping at the bit. So, again,
well,
I'll just shut up and let you answer the question.
as long I think as long as they validly explain their point, any criticism is valid, and that to me that's what makes you a real critic. I mean, like we're talking about movies, we're criticizing movies. Hopefully, the people that watch us think that we're validly explaining our points, but that's like that makes sense to me. Then you can have negative, but it's just like, oh, it sucks because it sucks, or okay, and because of fan service. So let's talk about that. So to me, No Way Home was not fan service. I mean, there's always going to be certain parts, and that's what's called Easter eggs, and that's like they throw stuff in that only the fans are going to get. To me, like No Way Home was not that. Okay, uh, the majority of it. The villains from the older movies had an active role. They had full story arc. Well, I mean, not all of them. The lizard was just kind of there. Let's be fair, but like they had full story arcs, and the heroes didn't have as much of a story arc as I would have liked, but they had full roles. They didn't. So this was not Ghostbusters Aftermath. Okay, Aftermath or Afterlife was
I
fan
like when you
service.
say to say it wrong. I like to do that on purpose. Like, but go ahead.
Afterlife was fan service. Okay, it was some other movie that Jason Reitman had written and was like, man, we can make this a Ghostbusters movie, I guess, and throw in a bunch of fan service. To me, like that was like it was like, okay, there's Stay Puft, there's and then at the very end, it's like, hey, there's the real Ghostbusters. Okay, all right, like that to me, like you can explain that as fan service. Like this wasn't that though. Like this was, there were parts I guess you could say that, but the overall movie, the overall like the everything that like would be called fan service had a specific role in the movie and had a story arc. It went somewhere. Wouldn't just like, here you go. And even if it is like just straight up total fan service, y- it's for the fans. The fans are gonna like it. You're not. If you don't know what's going on, like I don't understand. Like it's a valid argument if as long as you can explain it. Like I don't know if you were like, I don't know what the fuck these little marshmallow guys are. I don't know what that means. Like like okay, fair enough. Like you're not a fan, but like I don't know.
As far as I'm concerned, all of No Way Home was fan service. The entire concept of the movie was fan service, and there's nothing wrong with that. I write I write songs. I write hit songs. I try to write hit songs. I write pop songs. And when I write a song, I'm like, I want people to shit themselves when they hear this. I want people to fall in love with this song when they hear this. And that's how, as far as I'm concerned, that's how you should
What?
make a movie. Like, you should come up with, like, dude, if we make a movie where we pull all the Spider-Mans in and then you can have all the villains come in, people will lose their freaking mind. Well, how could you
And
do that? Okay, let's figure it out. Okay. And then you figure that out and you make it make sense and you make it fun and you make it emotional and that's fan service. The whole movie, as far as I'm concerned, is fan service, and I don't use that word as a bad word. Other people
that's a good point.
that review movies, they use that as a bad word. fan service isn't a bad word. Fan service is a good word. You're giving your people who support and love your characters what they want, and I think that's what you should be doing. And yes, you can become erudite and put some kind of, you want to put on your cummerbund and your pipe when you're sitting at the director's chair and put in some crazy twist that's extra smart. This is taken from a part of Hamlet. We decided to slip this into the movie. You want to get smart? Go ahead and get smart. But if you want to make your fans happy, that's not a bad word. Don't make it dumbed down where it's, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can do fan service and make an intelligent movie. And I think Marvel's gotten really good at doing that. And I think it's really funny that the clever audience, the hipster kind of audience people, twirling their mustaches and saying, "Oh, this is, I don't like this. This is popular." That's just a terrible ailment that our society has right now, and hopefully they get over it because I think everybody's taking themselves way too
Come on.
seriously.
It is a terrible ailment, but it's not that our society has right now. That's always been around. Like that's like, come on, even as punk rockers, like, dude, once a band hit the big time, it's like, oh well, they're fucking sold out, like
Yeah,
whatever, blah blah blah.
it just
You
got
know that scene.
real
You know that
popular.
scene. Like
The
like,
difference is now we're more connected. I think you're right. The difference is back then we weren't as connected. Now everybody's connected on the internet, so we can hear everybody's crappy opinion.
but
Before we didn't have to listen to that.
But I do love your point, man. Like, yeah, fan service should not be a bad thing. Like, fan service should absolutely be a good thing, and it is a good thing. Like, yeah, well, what am I gonna do? Make a movie for the people that support me? But am I some fucking jackass? Like, what is that? Like, what do you like? Of course, like, and that's the thing. Like, it's I don't know. Is it accept? Well, let me ask you. Like to me, that's acceptable in the music industry. Like it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like keep making the same music. And I'm not saying like I really want to make this, but
Yeah.
I gotta make that. But like well, let's make another one of those albums, or I don't know. Like you know, whenever experimental albums don't always work, but like that's a complete change. But I don't know.
Pandered means flopped. Pandered means you're flopping, you're changing from what you do to I'm saying do what you do because that's what your fans like. Pandering is like if they all of a sudden started doing something that was like Star Trek because that's what they thought the people wanted. So they started changing from being a Marvel thing to a Star Trek-esque plot or whatever.
But
That's
I do,
pandering. I'm not saying they're pandering to anybody. I'm saying they are catering to their fans.
I do see what Phil's saying though. Like there's a certain line you can cross where it's like, we always talk about the loudest voices in the room
Right.
are probably the dumbest, but they're the loudest. And if they were like, yeah, it's totally Spider-Man should, I don't know, like be a cyborg or something like that, and then Sony was like, let's make Spider-Man a cyborg, like that does happen. Like that shit happens all the time. And I'm glad that he just made a new word called fandering, and we should spell it PHANDERING.
Dude, that's really good.
Yeah. So we are totally against fandering.
Also,
But
Spider-Borg.
yeah, he has yeah, and Spider-Porg. Like, but no, I mean, I'm being silly, but like the stuff like that does happen a lot, and he's right. It can cross a line to where like you've got professional writers, you got professional directors, you've got like a good storyline going, and the fans want this, and it's like, and sometimes they do cater to the fans too much, and it just wrecks it for the fans, and because the fans actually get what they want. They're like, that was fucking stupid. Like
what that usually,
like Venom in Spider-Man 3.
what that usually is though is a suit doing what they think people want. You know what I mean? It's like
that's true.
That's what it is. It's like if you had the guy in the boardroom write the hip hop song instead of the artist who makes that music. You know what I mean? But hey, what if you did this? It would be great if we blah blah, and then we'll throw so and so in there and team up. It'll be you and I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's always some
Dwight Yoakam.
business person. Then we can cross promote this with blah. It's always some business person that's trying to taint the art,
Yeah.
and
Well, and that
and that's the thing.
well that yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's, you know, Phil's point. Don't let me speak for you, Phil. Um, but I think that's the point is that like fans spend the money. Like if it's got Godzilla on it, I'm gonna buy it. Like you know, or you know, a lot of things. You know, my wife's. I'm pretty easy to buy for. If it's Zelda, Cowboys, or Godzilla, like just buy it for me, and hey, Merry Christmas, done. Um, but like that's the thing. The fans, like Spider-Man 3 was the highest grossing Spider-Man movie, like because it had Venom in it, and the fans wanted Venom. They wanted him so bad, and they got it, but it just wasn't good. And we all know Sam Raimi's a damn good director. We all know the actors were damn good, and it just didn't work. But you're right, and you're right too. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah,
Like the suits forced it in there, but that's the thing. The suits were pandering, and like
it's a good word.
they already had a good direction, a good, writing staff, a good like they had a good storyline, and it's like we can get to that, but like and and now after 22 years, Sony's probably like, "Damn, if we made him wait for like 15 years for Venom, God, we'd be billionaires." Like,
Well, it just makes me grin though. I'll watch a review or listen to somebody talking, and they got to throw in that disclaimer. Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of fan service and blah, and I'm like, yeah, they're scared that someone's going to hear them
you
admit that they like something that's popular. It's okay to like something
that's
that's
a
popular. It's almost like a disc to protect their integrity and
mhm,
you know, credibility. Oh yeah, if I just all
yeah.
out say I love this movie, people aren't going to respect my
The whole
intellectual.
reason Boozin' and Horin' was ever recorded is because of fan service.
That's right, fan
Like
service.
Clink hates that song. He's like, "I fucking hate that song." Like,
Oh boy.
but I mean, you made a very valid point. Like fan service should not be a bad thing. It shouldn't be like a negative term. Like it's you're supporting, you're giving the fans what they want. The people that support you what they want, and hopefully, in a very good way.
And why wouldn't you? The problem is
Right.
when you think you know what they want and you don't know what they want. That's what happens.
Well,
People
yeah.
people that are trying to make money think that they can figure out what sells, and they don't actually know what the people want. They just think they know what they want.
Well, and you're right. I mean, people that are trying to make, and not everybody's trying to make money. Don't get, I'm not,
Mhm.
but people that are like trying to make money, especially in a creative field, they're not servicing the fans, they're milking the fans, and that's where it becomes bad, and that's where it ruins franchises.
And that's where you have all these other hey, well, the Avengers is doing really well. What can we? Hey, what if we buy this other property? There's a bunch of people with capes in this show. We'll put it on
Hmm.
Netflix, or whatever. You know what I mean? And like, okay, well, what can we get? We've got a channel. We're
Yeah.
Amazon. What can we get that's super
Yeah.
powered people? We need a group, and then everyone wants their own version because that's what's hot, and that's what we've seen happen basically. Um,
Uh,
and we've also
well, I
seen
did.
seen Warner Brothers make a bunch of poor decisions and changes, trying to succeed as well as the Marvel universe did. You know, completely flip
It,
flop with in changing out directors and screwing up movies
but
that would have been good and all that just to make it
and
money.
and we all, I mean, I think we've talked about this over and over again, but like it would have worked if they would, like that's the thing that they didn't get. The Marvel recipe was a 20-year recipe. It was like they were trying to do it in 5 years, and they're like it's not gonna work like that. It
Can't do
doesn't.
that, bro.
Like who's Cyborg? Why is Wonder Woman here? What's going, like, what, huh? Like, you
They
know,
almost did. Like they almost did. They just needed to
like, yeah,
stay out of
but you don't.
Snyder's way for a couple more years. Like,
Yeah. And either way, like you don't whip out Darkseid in the first movie. Like that's like pulling out Thanos in the
yeah.
in Avengers 1. Like, it doesn't, don't do that. Like he's a big bad. Like don't.
Hey, how are they going to tie in Morbius? I don't know, but I can tell you that I keep losing my shit because Michael Keaton is in Morbius. So I'm like, how is that going to work? I don't know.
Uh, so and the only other person seen talk about that was actually before Spider-Man, that Nuvi, you know, the I don't know if it might be regional, I don't know, but it's the thing that they show before the
Oh yeah,
movies, and this guy was like talking about it, and he was like, yeah, well, we've seen video of Morbius talking to the Vulture, and he directly mentions Venom. So they're obviously in the same universe, but how does that work? And I was like, yeah, what the like, what are they doing here? And then especially after this, after we just see he just blips back,
yeah.
or
Well, he
goes back to his universe,
he blipped back to
like
Morbius's universe, so he's there now. He was in the
right,
MCU
but
now. But
but
how did the
but
Vulture?
the
How did the
Vulture
Vulture get
wasn't,
over there?
yeah,
That's the real
yeah.
question.
So maybe, but when does Morbius come out? March,
January or February?
January? No, because yeah, Multiverse of Madness comes out in March. So
I think
they're
it's
not
January.
gonna be able to fix that. Yeah, they're not gonna be able to fix that.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't understand.
because unless they put in some big, they're probably it's Sony. They did not think about that. Like, they just didn't think about that. Like,
Sounds like fan service to me.
like, yeah, that's fandering. That's what that is. Sony's just like, we don't
Blatant,
care. Like, just
blatant
blatantly.
fandering. Oh boy.
What do you? But Phil says Batman's showing up in the Flash. What does that mean? Oh, the TV show?
No.
Or
Batman's going to show up in the both Batmans. You got Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck are going to show up in the
oh,
Flash.
Flashpoint,
Yeah.
the new Flash. Yeah, okay.
Yep. That'll be interesting. Maybe maybe Michael Keaton
Dude,
just has the ability to fly around to different universes. That's it. Even DC. That's his power.
yeah, he,
He's
he's
like, I'm
just
Michael
that
Keaton.
badass. Fucking Michael Keaton.
He's like, I've seen The
The-
Exorcist
yeah,
167,000
yeah.
times.
Don't make me go Beetlejuice on your ass.
Yeah. You like it? Um,
Dude, Phil, if there was a Blade tie in there, that would be amazing. If they can, like, I honestly, I think that Marvel should, what the deal that they had with Spider-Man, if they can pull that off with Morbius to bring in some Midnight Suns, they should do it. Like, because that would be awesome if they could pull that off.
yeah, I'm excited about all of this stuff, dude. They got Craven the Hunter has been cast for a while too, so he'll be in on some stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I mean, like, how well that'll work. He wasn't even reading the comics. I mean, he's a guy that hunts big game, and then he hunts people, and then like so he goes and hunts superheroes.
Spider-Man
And
specifically.
it's huh? Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah, pretty
specifically.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he couldn't. Well, Spider-Man was like his low on the totem pole, and he couldn't bag him, and uh, like because he's fought some other guys too, and still never won. But like that's even in the comics when it was like he was fighting Craven, I was like, it's just a fucking guy. Like come on, like so I don't know how well that's.
I think in the
Hopefully,
comics, didn't he give himself some serum? Gives himself some kind of
I'm
potion
sure
that
sooner or
he
later.
becomes
Yeah, I'm sure sooner.
more powered later.
Yeah, but like I just like when he was in there, I was like, ah, come on, like I'd still read it, of course, but like
Yeah.
he wasn't one of the villains that impressed me or anything like that. But he was, I mean, he was a standard guy, and he was around forever, like so I could see him,
It's the
them
same
bringing him in.
actor
But
that played Quicksilver in Sokovia. That
oh,
guy,
really?
he's going to be Craven the Hunter in the Sonyverse, which is weird. You don't apparently he plays a
Yeah, I
Russian
don't.
guy in some other movie recently, and when you see that, you're like, oh, dude, he could totally do this, which
But
happens
just
every once in a while.
I don't know. Well, I'm just thinking looks wise, like honestly, Henry Cavill with a mustache would nail it. But
He's in Kick Ass too, but apparently he's bulked up and
yeah, no, I like that actor. But yeah,
I can't
I
think of
mean,
his name
maybe
right now.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I know you kick ass. I always just call him kick ass.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So who knows what they'll do with all that? You'll have all these guys running
And I
around.
did see they are continuing the MonsterVerse. Legendary is continuing the MonsterVerse. There's going to be at least like 5 more films. Um, and then I think the first one's going to be a Kong sequel, Kong Hollow Earth. I don't know if everybody's excited about that, but I super am.
Yeah.
I'm a big Godzilla dork. You know how there's Trekkies and there's Star Trek Fest or whatever it is? I've gone to Godzilla Fest several times. Can't wait to go. I didn't go, for a while because of the pandemic, but hopefully I'll go next year.
I want to go to Godzilla Fest. That sounds cool.
It's a blast. Well, it's in LA now, though. It used to be in Chicago, and it was nice. I haven't been to it in LA, but that seems like an asshole.
Well, in other news, Betty White is turning 100.
Cheers, Betty.
Cheers, Betty. Yeah.
You know, she is literally older than sliced bread. I'm not even joking. I read an article about it. Like sliced bread was around for however long, and like she is literally older than that.
Hell yeah. Go get a Betty, and she still got it.
Yes, she does.
She still got it. Well, cool, man. Well, I think we covered all the stuff, man. Like, talked about Hawkeye, dude. Wheel of Time is a really good series. If you haven't seen that yet,
I haven't. I mean, like we could talk for another couple hours about No Way Home. I mean, it is just like it's one of those movies we could, but I mean, like I think we've hit the big points, and definitely go see it if you haven't.
I'm gonna retrack real quick just to wrap it up. I'll retrack the my notes. I was like, action is great, story
Yes,
little hokey, but I like Scooby Doo, so so it passes. Nobody fell in quicksand or anything, but I mean, like I could be like, oh, come on, but I
one of
was
the best lines. I'm sorry, was Jamie Foxx saying, "Yeah, you got to be careful where you fall, man."
Was it funny? Yes, it was funny. There was some really funny stuff watching them interact, and they had a really sweet camaraderie, giving each other hugs and stuff, and I liked all that. The acting was fantastic, all of them. Everyone in this movie, I couldn't think of anybody that was bad. All of them stepped up their game.
Honestly, yeah.
I'm looking at the cast, like Andrew Garfield. There was some people that were like, yeah, Toby spoke a little different. I'm like, he's old, dude. He's been 20 years since he played that role. So now he doesn't talk like a little kid. He talks like a middle-aged man. And Andrew Garfield was a little different too, but they're all good. And you're right, William Dafoe, not William, but Willem Dafoe, and his name used to be Dafoe. I don't know if you knew that, but there was a Conan O'Brien clip where he was at a audition, and they're like, Willem Dafoe, and he was like, oh, that's mean, and somewhere along the lines it changed. Dafoe sounds a little less fan servicey, I think. You got Alfred Molina was fantastic. Thomas Hayden Church was awesome. Jamie Foxx was good. I liked him saying, "Oh, I just wondered if you were going to be black under that hood." Like a guy helping people from Queens. So little
in some universe, there's a black Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like there's a little Miles Morales tip into the hat, a nod there. I thought that was cool. Marissa Tomei was great. All of them, everybody in this. The J.K. Simmons, Alex Jones-esque guy. Benedict Cumberbatch is always good, but I felt like he was a little campy in this movie. Even his hair looks campy. Like it looks a little bit. It looks like a Halloween costume to me, a little bit. But I forgive it.
It was very felty. His cape was like I noticed that as well. Like it was very felty. It wasn't like leathery and badass looking. It looked like felt.
Jupiter's Legacy people do his hair. Like,
leave that show alone. Leave it alone.
All in all, it was great. I enjoyed it. So let's see here. Pacing was good. I didn't think it was slow in the beginning like you did. I was perfectly entertained the whole time, and I was like solid. And then it got even better. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours to me. I didn't have a toddler with me, so
fair. Yeah, that might be a very good point. Yeah,
I did have to go to the men's room I was like, man, I was crossing my legs, like I really had to go for like the last 30 minutes, but I was like, no, dude, just wait. And so I waited it out. Um, I've been on long streams where I had to go forever, and or in a van on tour where it's like, dude, just stick it out, you'll be okay. Um, Bartending
That's like
too.
me in the middle of the night.
That's my
Like
that's
I
my
could get
super.
up, I could get up and pee, or I could lay there for 4 hours and go, just don't get up and pee, just go get up and get terrible sleep, and that's usually what I do.
I have a superpower. I can bartend. Uh, Bartending, you got to go, and then you're too busy to go, and then you forget, and then about 4 hours later, you're like, oh yeah, I was about to wet myself. I better go to the bathroom. And I don't know how the human body can do that, but it does.
That's how I was with teaching at first, and then like had and once I started teaching, I got high blood pressure, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, you can't hold it like that raises your blood pressure." So now I like in between classes I go every time. The kids are like, "Oh my god, I have to wait outside for like 34 seconds. Oh my god."
Phil says, I'm so old, an all nighter is not going to the bathroom at 4 a.m. Uh,
Preach, brother, preach.
yeah. Mm, Um, yeah, let's see. Any issues? We already talked about that. Overall, man, overall I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fantastic. And when I say overall, I give it like between 90 and 95 and 100, a score personally. I liked it about as much as I think I could have liked that movie. Couple little spell things that maybe I would have written differently, but overall I'm like, I'm not going to complain about it. I'll say I liked is it the best comic book movie of all time? No, I like Endgame better. Endgame's my favorite.
I've heard I have heard people comparing it to like Endgame and Infinity War, and I don't like that comparison, but it is very, very good.
It's very
I would
close.
give it about an yeah.
It's just a matter of who your favorite characters are. Because if Spider-Man's your favorite, if you love all the Spider-Mans, and all of a sudden you're
Good
getting
point.
to
Okay.
see them team up and do some crazy stuff, then yeah, I think it's more of a matter of taste and who your favorite characters are. And like for me, I won't call Cap my one of my favorite characters. I really like him, but I don't call him one of my favorites.
He's one of my favorite. Yeah.
But when he picked up that, when he gets Mjolnir, you know what I mean? Like when all of a sudden he's got the hammer, and it's like,
Yeah.
Avengers assemble, and
That's
then
the
it's like, and
biggest fucking yeah.
on your left, that whole thing at the end of
Yeah.
like getting beat down by Thanos, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
reinforcements. Yes, like that was the best. There's that iconic clip of the movie theater. We've all
Yeah.
seen. There's a famous clip of that where the applause is just insane. This
That was
movie,
to me the people always talk about seeing Empire or like, Luke, I'm your father or, in theaters and being like, "Oh my god." Like that was Endgame was that moment for me. Like I was too young. Like Endgame for me was like fucking there's never been a bigger movie moment. This was pretty good. It was pretty damn close. Well, I don't even, not even pretty damn close, but it was close. But Endgame, yeah, I mean, fuck, I saw it. Well, I saw Avengers like 3 or 4 times in theaters the first time, and then like, but with Endgame, it was just such 'cause 20 years. Like, come on, like,
yeah, it was amazing. Well, I really enjoyed this, and that same feeling of just everybody being so happy and satisfied and stoked that like when 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 Andrew Garfield, people cheered a lot. They're
hmm
like yeah, yeah, people cheered, and then when finally after a while you start thinking maybe we're not gonna get Toby, and then all of a sudden when Toby came through, dude, people like just went crazy and started
yeah.
cheering in the theater, and that was like a really fun feeling because I was like, yeah, me too, I did it also, and that's so much fun. Like that's like
Eh,
you don't get that at home. Like
No, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and,
Wait,
and I'm just thinking about watching The Matrix when it comes out at midnight before I go see it in the theater, and I'm like, no, you don't get that at home. So
eh, I was that's the thing too. When you see them early like that, uh, because I'm a Godzilla fan, and some of the Tokyo Godzilla movies that didn't come out over here. Like you can see them in G Fest in theaters and stuff like that, and like watching some of your favorite movies, and everybody's like, "Fuck yeah!" Like at your favorite points, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is the best feeling ever!" Like so like if you go see it at a general audience a little bit late, you might not get that. You get the jerk offs and stuff like that. But yeah, seeing it like as soon as possible, like it's only the fans trying to get there and really enjoy it. It makes it worth it. And then we've got Phil here. I think he's trolling me. He says Endgame was a CW show.
He is trolling you.
You know we do the trolls around here.
Oh, this one's for Phil. When I don't feel very good about myself, I fuck with people on the internet that I don't even know that well because it makes me feel better. Ooh, it makes me feel better. But the dopamine, it doesn't even last that long. And now the dopamine's gone. Oh, what a classic. Yes, sir. That was for Phil. But yeah, what a great movie. We got to see. We finally got it. We got all the things we were hoping for. And is any movie perfect? No, I don't think any movie's perfect. But I think most people really enjoyed this movie, and
Yeah.
I sure did. And yeah,
You will not be disappointed. Any issues I have is where I think the series is going to go, or the franchise is going to go. It is not with this movie by itself.
I'm
Like I say,
excited. I'm
I,
excited to
I'm
see where
I'm
he goes in
excited.
this.
I'm excited as well. But like I said, any like the issues with the movie are not specifically with the movie necessarily. It's just the like other stuff. You will not be disappointed with this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little fan servicey, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. Just kidding. All right, gang. Well, if you didn't already, like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, do all that good stuff. We got tell your friends about us, all that. This was a long one, and Curtis and I appreciate you coming. We do this on Friday nights, and yeah, if you didn't catch this live and you're watching the replay, go ahead and leave some comments, or if you got something you want us to cover, let us know what that is, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Curtis?
Yeah, leave some comments. This is a big movie. This is one of the ones I really can't wait for the DVD release for. I'm an old person, but seeing the deleted scenes is going to be huge, I think, for me, and like commentary on this is going to be a huge thing for me. So, I mean, I'd be down like just doing a show on that too. But let me know. Let us know.
Yeah, we might have to do that later.
Otherwise, we love you all.
Yes.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah, and thank you guys for checking out the No Way Home spoiler discussion. And Phil, and I think Bobby's still in the chat.
Bobby's hanging.
Yeah, you guys have a good night. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. And remember, be nice.
Secrets have a cost. They really do.
Secrets do have a cost. Be nice until it's time not to be nice.